fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got tracks and he's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
3 rounds in, 2 road rounds, 1 oval round, and now we get to go left once again. We are at New Hampshire Motor Speedway for the 4th round of the International Division of the Majors Series. This is the Musket 250 in the Tour Modifieds. My name is Reese Gardner. Alongside me in the commentary box is Ryan Jones, as per usual. Ryan, time to go back to oval racing after a very action-packed Classic Daytona 500 a month or so back. And the track is an awful lot flatter, but there's a chance that the racing is going to be very exciting once again in these modified stock cars.
Yeah, we're at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, which is quite an intriguing racetrack. It's only a mile long, but it doesn't really share many of the characteristics you would normally sort of expect to see from a short track. And I struggle to really characterize New Hampshire as a short track for that reason, as you can take a look at where we would find this place in America, just north of Boston on the west coast of the United States, as I struggle to sort out my east from my west. There you can see just how long those straights are. The corners themselves are quite deep as well. And as you can see, the banking race between 2 and 7 degrees, so virtually non-existent. That means 2 things. You've really got to rely on your brakes to get the car slowed down, because there's nothing to hold you in the corner. And it means it's very much hard to make an outside lane work.
Yeah, certainly. That variable banking, 2 degrees down low and 7 degrees up top. Ostensibly, that's supposed to make the outside line more viable, but it seems that in practice, you really have to be careful to stick to the inside. You can also see that New Hampshire has a road course as well in this aerial shot, and it's one of my favorite combined road and oval courses of all time. Plenty of elevation change, but these Tour Modifieds going nowhere near that.
It's criminally underrated, I would say, the road course here at New Hampshire race. It takes you outside of the oval, which is reasonably uncommon, isn't it? For rovals, if you will, in America. And as you mentioned, the elevation it shares, and it's actually got a couple blind corners as well. It's quite a thrill ride, but I don't think these Tour Modifieds will actually handle it quite that nicely, because they've got a lot of power underneath them. They like to get loose out of the corners, and we're seeing it in this practice session race. Power down, exiting a corner is what this race is going to be all about. With how long these straights are, you've got to nail those exits, and power application is going to be the biggest talking point of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't also forget the fact that the weight of these cars is biased to the left for cornering. Here are the championship standings in the Pro Division. Cameron Dance, of course, taking 3 from 3 in terms of wins this season, 144 points, but Thomas Hinz and Harold Stadler not that far behind. Hinz, of course, winning the GT3 class at the Bathurst 2 Hour, and some very good results from Harold Stadler, nice and consistent throughout the season. But I'm looking forward to seeing how the pro standings go. Cameron Dance, of course, the defending champion, and we got to really take into account that this is quite a competitive field here tonight.
It is, and what I love to see is Cameron Dance out of his comfort zone. He's on an oval where we know he's not the best of the bunch, should we say. He won out at Daytona, we know that, but it doesn't come as easy as it does, say, on the road courses. So it's going to be interesting to see how his fight goes. Harold Stadler, 3rd in points, 3rd in practice times. Thomas Hinz, he's struggling just a bit. He's down there behind Dance in practice. He's 2nd in the points. There's a very good mix and a bit of a invert almost in terms of the top 10 and where they're running in terms of the championship points and practice times. I mean, look at Daniel Stevens. He's 10th on the board there, but right now in practice race, he's running 4th. He's running 4th.
Yes, indeed. Daniel Stevens very strong on the ovals. These are the sportsman standings. Meanwhile, Brad Klenk, who took a fantastic surprise podium in the Classic Daytona 500 in round 2 to the top of those standings, 11 points ahead of Jake Manier, and Johnny Bell and Brett Gerard's on the same points as Manier as well. So it's all to play for in terms of second place there in that particular championship. With the pro team standings, TechSense Fitstyle Motorsport is dominating at the moment. They've put a very great lineup together, and they've got a consistent package. Great results throughout the season so far. Kinetic International, not quite as close to the top as they have been in past seasons, but I tell you what, that battle for third place is certainly going to be interesting with Middle Finger Racing, Renvale Fitstyle Motorsport, and the Avatar Auto Racing duo of Dwayne Burns and Shane Bowen making a very good case for themselves there.
Sportsman teams, very close fight, isn't it, for the top 3? The Gentlemen's SimRacing Club entry ahead of Middle Finger Sports Race, Sports White, and Vision Motorsport, covered by just 68 points. And then Middle Finger Racing Black back there in 4th, and the second Gentlemen's Sim Racing Club entry as well. So only 100 points covering the top 5. It's really tight, all the way down the sportsman order. Missed Apex F1 podcast, Team International, and a whole bunch in the mix for sportsman teams. I would say, going back to the pro team standings, Middle Finger Racing and Avatar Auto may be underperforming over the first 3 rounds of the season, and might be looking to nab a haul of points tonight.
Indeed, they've got drivers that are traditionally very strong on ovals, and you see the 2 Avatar boys there just crossing the line as we have that static view of the track. We've got a host of drivers here on Zoom tonight. Simon Mazzomo in the top left, Daniel Stevens in the top middle, Jonathan Bain top right, and the bottom row, Cameron Dance and Thomas Hinds, all making an appearance here. You'll be able to see what they're going through in their real-life sim rigs if we go on board with them at any point in these 2 races tonight. And speaking of 2 races, I reckon we'll use the last couple minutes of this practice session to discuss the format change that this event has undergone. Initially, it was going to be a straight-up 250-lap race around New Hampshire, but there's been a problem. The fuel tank for the Tour Modifieds takes an awfully long time to fill up, and drivers highlighted that if they pitted under at least under caution, they would go 5 laps down and not be able to make their way back to the lead lap, which would have made for a very unfair result. So, Ryan, the decision's been made. We're going to be doing 225 lap races tonight, but fuel and the amount of time it takes to fill up the tank is still going to be an issue.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and an issue I don't recall as being present in real life. And I'm pretty sure positions would generally get frozen under competition yellows. Similar to what we saw at Bristol Dirt, really, if you go back to NASCAR's real-life running a couple of weeks ago, where they froze the running order under yellow flags. But we can't do that in iRacing, not with the yellows being thrown the way they are in this series. So it's certainly going to throw a very, very strategic element into the mix tonight. And the fuel burn is about 1 litre a lap. It takes about 32 seconds to put 1 can of fuel in the car, or 2 minutes and 22 seconds to put a whole tank of fuel in, and they're doing 30-second lap times.
Yeah, so heaven help you if you pit under green, you're going to be going at least 4 laps down by the time you make your way back out onto the circuit. So drivers tonight are going to be racing with much caution, and if a caution comes out, you're probably going to see everyone dive into the pits just to top up their tanks, make sure that they have what it takes to get to the end. The critical lap is going to be lap 46 because a full tank stint is anywhere from 80 to 84 laps, depending on the fuel burn. But lap 46 might not be the right lap to pit necessarily, because remember, it's going to require coming out on a full tank. So, I mean, there's infinite ways that this event can go, and it's certainly going to be one that we're looking forward to seeing. Qualifying has started, and first driver out on track is Josh Nowak in the number 73 for Kinetic. We got 5 minutes, and each driver gets 2 laps to set their time for the first race grid.
There are a few different lines you can take around the New Hampshire corners. 2 corners, 4 corners, depending on how you look at it. Which does make for some interesting decisions and nuances when you're out there as a driver and when you're watching on. As we see, what you will see is no one goes right down to the bottom. What little banking there is does still make a difference, and it's progressive here at New Hampshire. There's absolutely zero at the bottom of the racetrack, and that's why no one will go right down to that yellow line. And you'll always take a couple of car lengths up and above the apron as you head through the corners, as Nowak's first lap is a 30.5. That puts him at the top for now.
It's pretty competitive time, actually, from Josh Nowak. The top time in practice was a 30.488 from Robert Northway, but most drivers running low 30.5s. Daniel Stevens puts himself in P3 on a 30.6. He's going to have to find at least a 10th more if he wants to get himself up to pole position. Nowak still holding on to the fastest time so far. What about the number 42 of Blake Neck in Forerunner Motorsports? Number 42 crossing the line, a 30.8. That's the slowest time we've seen so far, so Blake's going to have to pick up the pace a bit here. But Harold Stadler, Cameron Dance there, just going into P2 there, only 0.004 of a second behind Josh Nowak, and he's still got a lap to go here, so the reigning champion might get faster.
Let's see how he holds up through 3 and 4, pushing the braking zone as far as he dares so he can still get the car rotated and then power down as early as he can to get that run onto the main straight and to the start-finish line. Where does Dance go with his second lap? He goes to the top with a 5.02. Provisional pole goes to the series leader.
Excellent stuff from Cameron Dance, but Robert Northway, who topped the practice timesheets, has made his way out onto the circuit. Thomas Hinz also coming to the end of his first lap here, a 30.623. That puts him in P6 for the time being. The number 46 of Robert Northway. Let's see if he can back up that fast time that he set in practice. Lap 1 is go, and as you can see, staying a lane up from the bottom of the circuit, taking advantage of the progressive banking there. It's completely flat down there on that very inside lane. And love watching the onboards of these things. They got super fat, thick tires that give you an immense amount of grip. And speaking of tires, well, they're going to be very fast at the start. There's going to be a plateau, and then they're going to drop off right at the very end of a fuel stint. 30.53 for Robert Northway at the moment. It looks like that actually might have been an invalidated lap because the time's not showing up there for me.
Great defense.
Yeah, that's a shame. Let's see if he can make good on his pace on the second lap. He's the only driver left to set a time, is Robert Northway. And oh no, he's gotten into the wall again. So from hero to zero there for the number 46, Robert Northway, topping the practice session, but he's going to be starting the race from the back.
Big shame for Northway. So we'll have to watch his fight through the field as we take a look at the starting grid. Cameron Dance will start on the pole race for our first race of 2 this evening.
Indeed, and Josh Nowak is going to be sharing the front row with him. Harold Stadler, the Austrian, starting alongside Thomas Hinz, with Dwayne Burns and Dean Moll in 5th and 6th. John Sorensen and Gavin Barber are going to line up 7th and 8th, and the top 10 is going to be rounded out by Shane Bowen and Matt Andrews.
Just behind Andrews, we're going to have Jonathan Bain, and then Alexander Sheridan, Eric Intilli, Blake Neck, and Simon Mizomo, Robert Northway will round out our 17-car field for tonight's event. I think this is going to be a really good one. As we saw in practice and qualifying, a couple different lanes you can take. It is traditionally a little bit difficult to make a pass at New Hampshire. You've really got to make your moves exiting the corners, get the momentum down the straight, and then complete it on the braking zone for the next corner race. So it really takes about half a lap to complete a move, and sometimes even longer if that car in front is really competitive. And so as a result, you're going to have to move around a bit if you're the car behind. Try and change up your lane a bit to generate that run. And it can cause a bit of a stack up in the field. If that one car at the head of a train is just a little bit slower, they can generally hold their own for quite some time.
Yeah, indeed they can. It's going to be a very tough one here for these drivers if they want to try and make moves. They obviously have the fuel to think about, and if they can save a bit of fuel, stay behind the car in front, lift off a bit more into the corners, then that will result in an overall shorter pit stop time for them, which can make all the difference considering how long it takes to fill up a full tank, well over 2 minutes to complete a full pit stop in these Tour modifieds.
Just waiting for Simon Mizomo to grid up, and then we will head off on what should be just the one formation lap. There we go, Mizomo's gridded, so we're going to head off for our formation lap. And I do love these Tour mods. They are very unique looking race cars, aren't they, Reese? They generate a lot of power. They look really cool. They sound really cool, but they are really tricky to control sometimes. Crucially, they generate quite a lot of grip, so cornering stability is not an issue. It's trying to get the power down out of the corners where that trickiness can lie for these drivers.
Yeah, certainly. Modifieds, of course, have their roots in modified stock cars, but they've really become their own purpose-built beasts ever since the 1980s and onward. So they've also only got 2 gears as well, so you got to be very careful to make the power band work for you. I've heard some drivers reporting that it's pretty easy to get the power down out of the corners, but the car will understeer potentially if you get on the throttle too early. Barney holds up the green flag. The pace car comes in. Cameron Dance is going to lead them away for the first of our 2 125-lap races here tonight. And that is a great start there from Cameron as the green flag flies. That's allowed Harold Stadler to get alongside Josh Nowak. 2x2 into the first turn at New Hampshire, and Stadler getting the run on the inside, securing a 1-2 there for Texsense Fitzstein Motorsport. Thomas Hinds just behind, having a good run around the outside of Dwayne Burns, and Burns had to take a bit of avoiding action coming into the corner there to avoid getting into Thomas Hinds, and that battle is going to continue, I think, for quite some time. Pretty much the only 2 drivers side by side up at the front of the field, but towards the back, Shane Bowen and Jonathan Bain side by side coming into the first turn as they start lap 2.
Plenty of congestion in the midfield of the Packers. Braking points got progressively earlier and earlier as drivers checked up for each other, heading into turn 1 and turn 3 on that opening lap. Robert Northway still running last at the moment, just biding his time right now, letting everyone sort themselves out as we head through the opening stages of this race. Josh Nowak, just up the road from Jonathan Bain, is immediately looking to get on the attack on Harold Stadler. He had a little sniff at the inside for turn 1. Stadler covered it off, but Stadler himself is only a whisker away from Dance And again, Nowak is looking like he's taking a slightly shallower entry to the corner there because he just showed that nose once more. This time he's got a bit of an exit race, and this could open the door for him. Here we go, down to the inside. He'll go slightly deeper on the brakes. But Stadler's holding firm. He's got the overlap. Just needs to get that power down. There we go. There's the move made.
Indeed, and Nowak is carrying that momentum, getting alongside Cameron Dance to try and take the lead coming into turn 3. Dance lets him go there, but that allows Harold Stadler to get alongside his teammate, so this is going to create a bit of a concertina effect in the top 10. We see Thomas Hinz as well in the bright yellow and green machine, trying his best to get up the inside of Cameron Dance now. So that's 2 positions lost for our former race leader in just the space of a lap. Dwayne Burns running the outside line. There's nowhere for Thomas Hinz to go at the moment. He's going to have to stick to those shallow entries.
That was a mistake from Dance. He opened up the inside for Nowak, which wasn't too bad, but then he really offered up the inside for Stadler. I don't think he realized quite how close everyone else behind was. He really set up to turn down and try and get a bit of a switchback happening, and then he had to open up the steering when he realized his teammate was right there as well. So he loses an extra spot there, which he don't think quite realized was a possibility, as Hinz still locked in battle. Looks like he might actually lose out to Dwayne Burns here. Burns doing a good job on that high side. With the power on the exit, it will work for him. And somewhere where that outside is really strong grease is coming out of the corners. You can get the power down that much earlier. It gives you that boost of speed down the straights like we just saw there from Burns. Allows him to clear Hinz.
Indeed it does. Taking the wider line means a bit more open steering, and it means that you can put the power down a little bit earlier, as you said, but it looks like the race has settled down a little bit now in the top 10. Still looking to see what the likes of Dean Mole can do as he tries chasing down Daniel Stevens. Have a look at Stevens. He's gone a bit deep there into turn 1 and almost went for the move on Thomas Hinz, but his line is compromised just a little bit, so Dean Mole is going to be breathing down his neck at the moment. It's all single file now as Josh Nowak seems to be skipping away with this one. He's looking very strong in the lead of the race at the moment. Harold Stadler and Cameron Dance, I think, just not able to keep up with him, at least at the present time.
So Reese, the top 10 have broken away, and then 11th on back, led by Sorensen, are languishing behind, and here is that group. Sorensen's finally been uncorked, if you will. Jonathan Bain able to get by, and it's opened up the floodgates, because here comes Mizomo looking to filter through on the inside as well. He'll complete that, going right down to the apron. Well, that might have been a misstep there, Mizomo. A bit too low, and you can see how much that hurt his momentum. And in fact, here comes Northway. Quickest man in practice, coming from the back of the field. That's probably the first sign of aggression we've seen from him tonight. Going right down to the inside. Mizomo wisely backs out. Northway picks up 1, but now Sorensen's back in line. And look at the gap that's formed already to Bain after he got through.
Yeah, just a little bit of side-by-side running can really allow the driver in front to get away. But Sorensen, bit of a compromised exit from turn 4 once again. That allows Northway alongside. And let's see how deep Northway goes. Incredibly deep. And but he parks it on the racing line. Doesn't allow John Sorensen to get the run, get the switchback going. So Northway now has a bit of clear air to work with to Jonathan Bain ahead. I'm interested to see how much pace he's going to be able to extract from that car as it's side by side a bit further up for 5th and 6th. Thomas Hinz getting it done on Daniel Stevens, and another compromised exit for the number 3, but Dean Mole just can't take advantage.
Mole actually had to cover off Matt Andrews, who was looking like he might pick up the pieces there a bit as well. A good little exchange. Really impressed with how close this top half a dozen cars are running. They're all looking really competitive right now. No one's getting away out front. I think these long straights are certainly playing a little bit of a factor. It's not allowing that lead car to get away. In this instance, Stadler's hanging on. You know, he's getting a bit of a slipstream. down those straights, which is gaining him probably a tenth and a half, 2 tenths every lap. And then the rest is just coming in the corners. He's staying even.
Well, Hinz still bumper to bumper with Stevens for 5th and 6th, and I think this battle's going to continue for some time yet. Thomas Hinz with the face of concentration, as there's the run for Daniel Stevens up the inside into turn 1. Hinzy's going to run a little wider, give him good amount of racing room. Both very clean races, Thomas Hinz and Daniel Stevens, but Stevens with the tighter line got slightly compromised. He's going to have to try and edge forward here in turns 3 and 4. He has cleared Hinz now, so he should be able to get on the throttle nicely and cover him off coming onto the straight. And Dean Mole, again, not able to take advantage of those passes between them, but I don't blame Mole. I think he's just biding his time for the most part. But they're going to have to pick up the pace pretty soon because it looks like the top 4 are starting to break away. Dwayne Burns is actually shadowing Cameron Dance very well there.
Yeah, this is a good example. When you're running single file, you're picking up that slipstream, and you're just working the racing line through the corners, you can hold station with the leader nicely. But as soon as you start battling, like Stevens and Hinz were there, you lose that time to the cars in front, and it's very easy to quickly fall away. Stevens has done a good job on that lap to claw back the margin, and virtually it doesn't exist anymore. But it's something for them to be wary of moving forward in this race. It's further back. Mizomo is still trying to get by Sorensen, and still he's persisting with that apron line, and it just doesn't work for him. He should have completed that move for all money there, but he ruined it for himself by touching the apron, and now he's under pressure from behind. Caught in the middle. That was almost contact in front and behind. That's Alexander Sheridan trying to buy in as well. I don't know what Mizomo's quite toying with here with this line.
No.
That makes things easy. Just grabbing the fence. Tell you what, Reese, that is so easy to do with these cars. Those right side tyres stick out an absolute mile, and you're situated quite far left in these things, in the cockpit. Really hard to judge where the right side of that car is sitting.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to take into account the bars, the contact bars on the sides of the cars as well. They extend a little bit further than the tyres do. So that's what caught John Sorensen out there, as Eric Antilli gets up the inside of Alexander Sheridan now. Simon Mizomo is finally free of getting squeezed down to the very bottom. Antilli getting down to the bottom as well, losing a slight bit of momentum there versus Sheridan. That might give John Sorensen another chance here. Very early turn in for John, but here we go. Quite the battle here, as Thomas Hinz is now looking like a bit of a cork in the bottle here. He's got Dean Mole, Matt Andrews, Gavin Barber, and Shane Bowen all behind him in a line.
So, if you're Dean Mole here, you want to get the momentum out of the corner, pull alongside in the straight, use the braking zone to further improve your positioning alongside them, if you cannot completely clear them, and then clear them on the exit.
Oh, it looks like Josh Nowak has gotten into the wall. Sorry to interrupt. That's allowed Cameron Dance to... Oh, sorry, Harold Stadler to get alongside him. And Dance and Burns also side by side behind. Sorry to interrupt. Just things are getting a little spicy out the front here.
So Nowak was sitting comfortably, actually a couple of car lengths in front of this chasing group. That's just brought them all back into the fight. It's actually brought Dwayne Burns to the outside of Dance. Just further analysing why Mizomo is struggling to complete that pass. The issue is bombing it into the corner and trying to dive bomb it to the inside. You find that really short-term gain race of, finding all that time on the entry to the corner. But because there's no banking, you just lose so much in the middle. They gain it all back on the middle and the exit. You end up losing more than you gain. You've really just got to pull back your braking zone a little bit, settle for gaining a fraction on them in the braking zone, and when you've got better pace, you're going to naturally be better through the middle and exit anyway to clear them.
Yeah, exactly. And mid-corner momentum, incredibly important at a flat oval track like this one. Well, Josh Nowak has managed to extend the gap just a little bit more now versus Harold Stadler, but they're breaking away from the battling trio of Dance, Burns, and Stevens. And looks like Thomas Hinz is starting to catch back up to these guys once again. So who knows, in the next couple of laps, we might see all of the top 10 together once more. Stevens shadowing Burns very nicely as it's a narrower line for Cameron Dance. Josh Nowak, Dwayne Burns getting on the throttle just a little bit earlier, trying to get the run down the front straight here. He has a brief little look into turn one, but no dice that time around. Dance just keeping steadfast there. The effective apex is the seam between the bottom two lanes. And let's check in with Cameron Dance on Zoom, see how much he's leaning into the corners. Yeah, that's a reasonable amount of lean there for Cam.
Is he shining a white light into his face at the same time? Or is his screen brightness just up to, like, the max?
I think it might be a combination of a bright screen and a dark room, but we haven't been given a rig tour from Cameron Dance just yet, so it'll remain a mystery to us. Have a look at this, though. Bad run for Dwayne Burns. It allows Daniel Stevens alongside him into turn 3. And Stevens going all the way down into the bottom lane. He might lose some momentum there. He struggled a little bit to keep the rear end in check. So not able to take advantage on the exit, and that's going to allow Thomas Hinz back into the draft once more. Very close battling here in the top 10 as Burns continuing to move a bit further up the track. He hints at getting a slight run on the number 27 of Cameron Dance, but again, just not happening at the moment. I mean, this is a long race, so the drivers can't afford to be too aggressive too early. Having said that, Robert Northway getting up the inside of Shane Bowen for 10th place, and it looks like he's just not able to get it done there on the exit. The narrower line not carrying the momentum out of the corner that he needed.
Northway's making really good progress. The leaders are in his sight, which is the very crucial point for him. Here we go. Northway's going to get alongside into the corner here. He's able to carry very good speed in the braking zone, not drive the car too low, and he's so good in the middle on the exit, he clears him. That's a perfect overtake.
That is a perfect overtake there from Northway. But Bowen did get a slight run thanks to the wider line on the exit, but Northway covering him off very nicely. So we'll be monitoring Robert Northway all throughout this. And if the event info in iRacing is to be believed, the top 10 are going to be inverted for the second race. So if Northway stays there, he'll be guaranteed a pole position start for race 2. Hey, Simon.
I don't suspect that will happen, though, because he's effectively latched on now to the leading group, which is 9 cars strong. And the good thing is, he started 17th. If you go back to 16th now, Sorensen is 9 seconds away from the leader. Northway's got clear of all of those cars that were struggling back there, and he's only 2.6 seconds away. So he's done a really good job. He's got plenty of time left in this race, just under 100 laps. And he can slowly work his way through these last just under a dozen cars. There's Jonathan Bain, who is currently running in 12th, just behind Northway on the road.
Winding on the lock on the exit, trying his best to get a good run down the straight.
We've discussed his lack of headphones on ears before, right?
We have, I believe, yes.
We never reached a conclusion, right?
Yeah, I think we might have to ask him at some point. You know, what is the reasoning behind that? Because I mean, obviously he's getting his in-game sound through speakers. Maybe the headphones are just for voice chat if he needs it. Have a look at the run there from Daniel Stevens, getting up the inside of Dwayne Burns in turns 3 and 4. But again, the tight line ruins his momentum coming onto the front straight. it takes multiple laps, it seems, to try and pull a move off here, and you have to hit your marks perfectly.
Yeah, and one of the other tactics that you can use to try and overtake when it's tough like this is a slide job move. You know, pulled from the old dirt style. The trouble is, and what is one of the reasons we won't see it here from Stevens down low, is if there's cars in front, well, you can't do it because you'll hit them instead. But when there's no banking, there's nothing to help slow the car down. So if you go too deep, the car's just going to go all the way up the racetrack, and you're probably going to end up losing spots. So there's only so much further you can go into the braking zone before, you know, you've gone too deep, and you're just going to end up washing all the way up the road. I think the slide job's really difficult to pull off effectively at New Hampshire.
Yeah, definitely is. You've got to take a lot of care into the braking zones here. It's almost it's a pretty gentle entry to the corners compared to most other ovals. And Stephen going another lane up there, just trying to get another good run on Burns. But Burns is right in the draft of Cameron Dance, running bumper to bumper. And those two are keeping each other pretty busy. It's allowed Thomas Hinz to catch back up to the back of Daniel Stevens at the moment. And this is a long line of cars with Josh Nowak still keeping about a car length or two on Harold Stadler there in second.
Fastest car that time. Pretty much Robert Northway from that lead group. Well, it was Robert Northway from the lead group. And he's just looking to the inside of Gavin Barber. I said pretty much, because Shane Bowen was actually fractionally quicker than him back in 11th, so he's not that far away either. Tricky spot for Northway now. He's trying the old slide job maneuver, and he doesn't really need to pull it off in the end, because he actually gets given the spot by Barber, who just sidesteps him. Further up though, look at this.
Yeah, this is great here. Dwayne Burns, a couple of lanes up with Daniel Stevens, again trying the inside line. He could afford to open up the steering a little more and potentially get the run. Pulling out for a bit of a look on Dean Moll was Matt Andrews there just then. Thomas Hinz compromising his entry to get on the throttle a bit earlier and a better run. But this is another little lull in the action that the drivers will be working with. Oh, it looks like Cameron Dance just got a little unsettled in the middle of turns 3 and 4 there. It almost allowed Dwayne Burns to get a run on him on the front straight. But again, you know, the early turn-in basically blocks off any kind of dive bomb moves you'll see. As you said at the start of the broadcast, Ryan, you got to start a move pretty much half a lap before you actually make the pass. It's all about the exit from the previous corner. And Robert Northway right on the back now of this pack here, with Andrews and Moll just up ahead. If he can clear them, then he'll be right in the mix there for the top 6 with Thomas Hinz. And up the inside again he goes. Slight slide, manages to keep it a lane up though and maintain the momentum. Great move there from Robert Northway. Still got a bit of overlap, has Matt Andrews, but lifts off and lets Robert Northway go. So another position there for the 46.
That was impressive. The way he maintained that momentum on the lower line was really good. You know, I've got Northway up for a really good result in this one. He's making these moves seem so easy right now. And he's only a handful of spots away from the lead of this race.
Speaking of the lead, Josh Nowak having to go defensive versus Harold Stadler. Got slightly compromised, I think, in the corner before as Northway gets up the inside of Moll and whoa.
It's
right
not
down.
Around.
Yeah, certainly not. Alongside on the front straight, this is going to be a move into turn 1 for him.
Let's go on board with him. He's got the eyes locked on. And he's just making these moves. That wasn't even a setup. No! He's put him in the fence, and Northway goes around as well. He gets turned around by Andrews. Andrews collects Gavin Barber, who goes up and into the cash fence. And that is a big crash triggered by, in the end, you've got to say, Northway and Dean Mole. They come together on the exit of turn 2. I was just going to say, Reese, Northway was no longer setting up his moves. He was very opportunistically taking them. Maybe he should have still been setting them up, because I think that's why this move happened.
Yeah, well, Northway pushing up the track there, and Mole was still alongside him. They just made quarter contact, and unfortunately, that's what happened, and created a massive pile-up that's taken out quite a few cars here. But we're going to see drivers go into the pits now.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was going to say, let's make sure we catch what happened to Gavin Barber.
It's always painful to watch that sort of thing happen. Barber just minding his own business, but you didn't really have time to react to the drivers coming across the track, as all of our leaders are now in for their first pit stop. And they'll be topping up the tank here, making sure that they have a full tank ready for the next run of the race. And it's pretty close to the critical lap. So remains to be seen whether or not these drivers are going to have to top up the tank once again, as we see quite a few of them electing to take tyres here.
Hang on. Hinsey just turned Stevens into the fence in pit lane. And it's given Stevens about 9 minutes of repairs.
Oh,
so
no.
Stevens is going to have to take his spare car as well.
Oh, yeah, we're going to... I think we should get a replay of that one, because that was not too good there from Hins and Stevens. When you're actually in the pit boxes, you can pass through other cars, but you see Hinsey here going for his box early, and Daniel Stevens turns in to get to his at the same time, and there's Stevens getting put into the wall. So Mr. Stevens going to be very unhappy with that.
That's just basic oval racing stuff, man. You stay on the right-hand side of pit road. Come on. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, that's a big shame there. Well, Thomas Hins has managed to get out of the pit lane, but as you can see, Daniel Stevens now away from his simulator. He's going to grab a drink.
Because he wouldn't have even had his fast... No, he's screwed. Because if he got 9 minutes required repairs, and he basically got in for his service, he would not have had his spare car selected. So he would have started his service with 9 minutes required repairs, no spare car selected. He's now forced to take them.
Yeah, oh, he's going to be multiple laps down now, is Daniel Stevens. That's a big shame there. And I mean, the logic goes that you don't want to have your fast repair ticked unless absolutely necessary. And with how quickly that incident happened just before he went into the box, Stevens wouldn't have had time to uncheck it, or wouldn't have time to check it, sorry. Yeah. So, wow, massive disadvantage there for the number 3.
Yeah, he's in a worse spot than Dean Mole, Gavin Barber and co are. They're all on track on the lead lap in their spare cars. So yeah, really, really unfortunate for Stevens. And Stevens will be really upset by that, because he is a really experienced oval runner who understands the laws of how to navigate pit road without having an incident, you know. It's really frustrating to see that. As an experienced oval guy myself, you still see people running into each other in pit road. You know, especially under caution, Reese.
Yeah, especially under caution.
Really frustrating. You stay on the right-hand side, and then you turn into your pit box. You don't drive down the left-hand side.
Well, Thomas Hins will have hopefully learned his lesson from that, as we see Blake Neck jumping into pit road in the Forerunner Motorsports 42. And he hasn't come into the pits yet, so he's just elected to jump in now and get his service done. Neck was running at the back of the field up until the caution happened, so just going to be waiting now to get that service done, get back out there. And I'm getting a question here. Eric and Tilly, looks like he just drove through pit lane and actually didn't take his stop there. You see the lane timer, 22.1 seconds, and there's no stop time there for him. So he's put himself up the order quite a bit, now in 5th place, but he's going to have to pit a bit later on as we go green flag racing once again at Harold Stadler, who leads the way. Shane Bowen has made his way up into 2nd.
11th to 2nd.
Oh no,
Contact
oh no!
Behind. Bane gets turned, Reese.
By Josh Nowak, no less. And the caution is immediately out once again. And that was just a straight up hit from behind that sent Bane around. It's been a very tough day for the Middle Finger Racing boys so far. And I think Bean, another source of frustration there. Yeah, there we go. There's the frustration for Jonathan Bean, and I certainly don't blame him. That was a bit of a silly move, I think.
Just had another look at it myself. We'll get the VRS replay up for you guys now as well, Reese. So, Josh Nowak turning in from the outside. He's been leading the race for most of this one. And maybe just getting caught out by having someone down there on that low side who's been running in the mid-pack and has been used to driving a slightly, more conservative line. And as a result, those two combos don't mash together well into turn 1. And then you put the blame on Nowak 100%. But maybe that's why it's happened.
Yeah.
But on a more positive note, Reese, Shane Bowen, 2nd, he was I remember him being 11th when that caution came out.
Yeah, indeed. He was just outside the top 10. So he's really taken advantage from that caution, and everyone's back into the lane once again as Dean Moll inherits the race lead, having already taken a stop. But we see the majority of our former leaders coming in. We got Dance, Nowak, Stadler, Burns, Bowen, Intilli, and Northway all there in the pit lane. Of course, Northway still getting his damage repaired, getting the tow done, and Stevens sitting in pit lane taking his repairs.
Hins is still apologising to Stevens, so it's good to see that Hins is taking the blame for that, and obviously he's really apologetic. We don't want to see that affecting his race now, though, and him beating himself up about it. So what we want to see is Hinsey moving forward and putting on a show. He's currently running 11th. The other thing to remember is that 400-second box timer. That's probably not needed, Jay. Thanks. But we've got a second race coming up, so everything's going to get reset, and they'll be able to go again. Hinsey did come over the radio and say, "I'll fully understand if you give me one in the second race, Dan." But Stevens said it's all fair between them, and nothing's going to get returned. So it should all be fair when they get back on track together in race 2, which is what we want to see. Because it's been good racing on the racetrack, except for that one little tiny mishap just then.
Indeed. Robert Northway has made his way back out onto the track, but he's just come back into the pits again, I think, to top up the tank a bit more. Down in 17th at the moment, as Dean Moll staying out of the pits, managing to take the race lead, and Northway is going to get out here just ahead of the safety car and the pack, so it's not going to lose a lap to everyone else. He's going to rejoin at the back of this pack. But now we've got quite the interesting race on our hands, because we've got a lot of drivers out of position from where they were before. It's Moll in the lead with Bain in 2nd. Blake Neck has made his way up into 3rd, and then we've got the Fitzstye duo of Cameron Dance and Harold Stadler in 4th and 5th.
So by getting turned around, Jonathan Bain gained a spot.
Okay. Indeed he did.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's happening with this pit stop strategy. Why some of them decided to pit straight away again, but I guess it'll all pan out in 75 laps time. we're going to see what's going to happen immediately off this restart with Mole and Bane on the front row race. Neck and Dance behind.
Indeed, Dean Mole leaves it a bit later to get the start going, and that's a great jump there from Dean Mole. As they head across the line, Jonathan Bane sticking into the middle of the track. Blake Neck trying his best to maintain momentum on the inside. He's already been passed by Cameron Dance. Mole just getting away with it here at the moment. He's got 3 car lengths or so on Jonathan Bane, but Cameron Dance is going to be on the attack here. He wants to get a good result and keep up his win record, but Bane running a lane further up, keeping the momentum coming onto the straight and doing it right there. They've managed to gap the rest of the field as Stadler now makes his way past Blake Neck. And the number 19 of Dwayne Burns forced to take a bit of avoiding action around the outside as Matt Andrews now gets the run on Blake Neck. They are 3 wide with Shane Bowen, and oh, goodness me, that was almost another caution there. Caught a contact between Bowen and Andrews. Very well held, I think, by the number 47.
That was a quickly closing door that Bowen tried to put his car in. Good job from Andrews to keep that car out of the fence. That modifier was pointed firmly towards safe barrier at one point. On board, deep in the pack, Robert Northway, currently 11th. His charge dealt a bit of a blow by those cautions, but he's still right in the mix, throwing it to the outside of Hins and showing us that that 46 car works well anywhere on this racetrack, and he's got that move made and switches to the inside now to get by Sheridan. Oh, steady on, almost washed up into the side of that 5 car. Now they're 3 abreast with the car right on the top of the road. That's Gavin Barber, who is a lap down, unfortunately.
Of course, there's no obligation to let drivers by. Blue flag rules are a bit different in oval racing, but Northway getting at the inside of Gavin Barber very nicely. Unfortunately, the momentum on the straight is just not there. He's going to have to wait a couple turns more, I think, to make that move.
Blue flag rules are slightly different in oval racing. They don't exist.
It's Nowak, it looks like, making the move on Blake Neck, and he's going to be followed by the number 7 of Shane Bowen as Hinsey there up the inside. And Robert Northway just skipping away from this pack at the moment as Barber, the lap down car, forced to give other drivers room as Hinsey goes for the move once again on the inside. Aggressive entry from Alexander Sheridan, has to back himself up in the corner, but Simon Mazzomo on the inside making it work on him. That's the first time I've seen anyone gain an advantage on the very bottom line, but I think it was helped by Gavin Barber there just ahead. On for the lead, meanwhile, Cameron Dance has made his way up to the front and alongside Dean Mole into turn 1. He's going to get that move done.
That was a very easy move for Dance. Mole moved aside and let him have that one. Not a bad decision because those two have skipped away. They've put about 8 tenths on the field behind. If they can work together, they might be able to keep extending that advantage over Stadler, Bane and co.
Well, now it's clear air for Cameron Dance. He can try and extend that gap as Northway versus Bowen once again. Bowen getting a bit up the racetrack there as Northway tries his best to get a run. Again, it's just not working with that shallower exit, but Northway diving into the next turn, gets a little bit of oversteer on, and Bowen running super wide effectively gives Northway the position for free. So now Northway is going to try and redo that climb. I see Daniel Stevens taking service in the pits, so we're probably going to be seeing him out on track very soon. There we go, that's Daniel Stevens leaving his pit box now. 17 laps down on the rest of the field. But if another caution comes out, he might be able to make at least some of that up. Whoa. Harold Stadler pushing Dean Mole very hard and trying to make it a Fitstone Motorsport 1-2 up at the front of the field. But Dean Mole's doing very well here to maintain his momentum in the middle of the racetrack. It's another good exit, though, for Harold Stadler. He's going to have to slot in behind, though, once again coming into turn 1, and very deep entry, very deep. I think he's getting a bit frustrated here because, I mean, Dean Mole is just minding his own business there, running in the middle of the racetrack.
As he can.
As he can indeed, and let's see if the move works this time for Stadler. It just might, because Dean Mole's washed up the racetrack a little bit, and the overlap is there. Stadler a little bit slower on the front stretch, but maintains side by side coming into turn 1, and Jonathan Bean has got a great view of this battling here. He's got to be careful, though, because he's got Dwayne Burns and Matt Andrews right behind him, looking to try and gain some advantage here as well.
Finally, Stadler completes that move and slots into second behind his teammate, but Dance, now gifted almost a full second advantage out at the front of this field, all by himself, the biggest single car lead we've seen all day. We'll see how that works out then, because normally the leading car has had an entire group behind them as a result of the slipstream effect. Bain still under pressure from Burns, who almost gets squeezed into the fence. Andrews back there as well. And then a big gap behind them to Nowak and Northway. So it's really the top 5 have broken away. Andrews is a lap down, of course, in 12th. He's currently in the lucky dog position. And will pass Blake Neck in a moment as well and become 11th. Because Neck, as you just saw, is on pit road.
Yes, indeed. Well, Neck obviously bringing it back in. And I don't think I can actually see his driver in the car. So that might be a retirement there for Blake Neck. He's exited the car. So not quite sure what's going on there in the Forerunner number 42, but remains to be seen whether we'll actually see him back out on track towards the end of this first race of the night. Dean Mole maintaining the momentum up ahead of Bain, Burns and Andrews. And Robert Northway is starting to line up a move on Josh Nowak. I think we're going to see that in the next couple of laps because they are together coming into turn 1, and Northway...
Bowen and Hins. Hins up the inside of Bowen and accompanied by Simon Mizomo as well. This is really tight into turn 3. Mizomo going to complete it. Bowen, not really anything he can do on that outside. Mizomo squeezing up in front of that number 7.
Oh no! Josh Nowak's been turned by Robert Northway on the front stretch, and the yellow flag is out once again. Northway was alongside Nowak coming out of turns 3 and 4, but once they actually got to the straight, it looked like Northway was moving to the right to slip behind Nowak, but obviously did it a bit too early, as you're going to see here on the Virtual Racing School replay. All fair for now, but there we go. Just a slight bit of contact, and both of them sent into the pit wall.
That's a pretty big misjudgment, actually.
I think Robert Northway might be a bit flustered from the initial big incident, but now that's 2 big crashes for the guy who topped the practice session. Nowak has made his way into the pits, and he'll obviously have his spare car checked if he hasn't mistakenly used it already, and we're going to be seeing drivers go for the pit lane once again. All of our leaders coming in: Dance, Stadler, Mole, Bain and Burns, but staying out is Matt Andrews to get a couple of laps back here.
Could we get like an onboard replay with Nowak for that crash? Shoving his wheel. Just completely unawares. The worst thing as a driver, there's absolutely nothing he can do in that situation. Thank you, VRS.
Thank you indeed. Here we go then. Oh, there's the erroneous move to the right from Robert Northway, but the onboard here from Josh Nowak. Let's see his wheel work. And minding his own business there on the front straight.
He was actually being quite conservative too. Like, look how wide he is through 3 and 4 here. He's almost up and above where that surface changes. And then...
Oh. Yeah.
He knew nothing about that.
That's a big shame, and I think Robert Northway will be very apologetic about that one. Northway coming into the pits to get some service done, a little bit of damage repair, some extra fuel in the tank. Matt Andrews exiting the pits and just managing to get out ahead of the pace car and the pack, but no, not quite.
No,
he's going to have to slot in behind.
So just touching on that surface change, we haven't spoken about it all night, but saw it there. Mind blank, in Tilly, Nowak was up there, just being a bit conservative, and it affects the amount of grip that you're getting from the tires. So it's heck. What are the two surfaces? One of them's grippy, one of them's not grippy. But I started an analysis I couldn't analyze. But you want to keep your car down where all those. Where the whole field's running, don't you, Reese? Where all that rubber's getting laid down. As soon as you move up high, not only are you getting all the sort of marbles and rubber where it's getting discarded off and all the rubbish, but the track surface changes and there's just no grip out on that crappy track surface, which happens to be the track surface of the corner exit as well, which is also why some of the drivers struggle for traction, because it's that less grippy surface.
Yeah, I think a bit older asphalt as well, because you'll be able to see the surface change right here when the drivers come through. See there on the inside, some fresher asphalt in the bottom 3 lanes. So it is a track of 2 surfaces in the corners. And Robert Northway making his way forward in the train here. He's been instructed to pass some cars as the green flag flies, and we are racing once again. It's Eric and Tilly who's going to be leading the way after that next round of stops, with Hins second, Burns third, with Dance and Stadler again in 4th and 5th. Jonathan Bain running a little wide, and they are 3 abreast coming out of turn 2. A great exit from Bain, but Shane Bowen and Dean Moll, no, more contact between them. Turned in a bit too early there, Shane. I think the drivers are getting a bit flustered out there. We're starting to see more and more instances of contact. It was a nice, clean start, but cautions breed cautions.
We've still got another race to go. Oh, Nowak almost got his rear end, not considering that sentence, rear end caved in by Matt Andrews heading into turn 1, who was just a little bit too aggressive in the braking zone. Had to really check up Sorensen on the outside, losing a bunch of spots in terms of track position. He's a lap down at the moment, one of about half a dozen that have lost a lap or so. This is a mess for the lead of the race.
Eric and Tilly backing out of it. He can see that there's a big pack behind him and he wants no part in it, so falls back to 5th place as it's 3 wide for the lead, with Burns on the outside holding it there. Hinsey backing out of it, and Dwayne Burns straightening up the exit very nicely, and it allows Cameron Dance to get along the side of Thomas Hins and potentially get a move done into turn 1 for 2nd place. Stadler's going to be watching this very intently as well, looking for any opportunity to get past the number 52.
I appreciate Intilli being conservative there and keeping his car on one piece, but at the same time, man, I would not have done that. It's so hard to pass on this track. He was on the outside, he would have got a good exit, and probably would have cleared them all down the straight. I think he just screwed himself.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that assessment, as Harold Stadler trying to push Thomas Hinz a bit wide here. Oh, a bit of oversteer for Mr. Stadler. Gets alongside, though, remains alongside, as Burns now around the outside of Dance for the lead. Making it work, that slightly outer line, just avoiding the less grippy tarmac as Mr. Stadler completes the move on Mr. Hinz. But Cameron Dance has really got his hands full here. He's got to try and move on ahead, make sure there's no overlap. Looks like he's just done that.
Yeah, only just. Him and Stadler cleared their respective battle partners by about a millimeter before moving up the road in front of them. So both Texense drivers running it pretty close. As we take another look at a virtual racing school replay, this is Josh Nowak.
Apparently a big slide through turns 1 and 2, and we're hearing from our director he might have gotten hit. So let's see what happened to him here. Oh yeah, there was a bit of contact. That was another one of the Fitzdyke cars, the number 47 of Matt Andrews, and Nowak just recovering it there, avoiding getting into the wall, but that's a couple more positions lost and a little bit more frustration.
Eric Antilli's now 7th and about to be 8th. Yeah, it wasn't a smart decision.
Yeah, Robert Northway moves ahead. Simon Mazzomo's going to try and go with him here. Shane Bowen as well, getting a good run on the exit. He's going to move up the inside of Mazzomo, coming into turns 3 and 4 as Daniel Stevens lifts off to let these guys go. There's more contact. Alexander Sheridan getting turned around by Matt Andrews, but we avoid the caution. Both drivers manage to keep going.
Would you believe Antilli almost got caught up in that accident?
Yeah,
Lifting off. He's actually really, really slow right now. I wonder if he actually picked up some sort of damage or some sort, because his pace is quite terrible at the moment.
He's on a lot older tyres. He didn't change tyres in either of the stops that he'd made so far.
Okay. Yeah, so this time by for him, a 31.0. Dance, okay. He's equalised on that lap. But he's lost a lot of time. He's 3.7 seconds back now. So Dance leading this race from Dwayne Burns and Harold Stadler, the top 3, covered by half a second. About a second back to this 3-car battle for 4th between Hinz, Mole, and Bain. Bain's looking on the inside of a Mole for a way through, but he just can't quite find one at the moment.
Yeah, Mole's doing a good job, once again, keeping himself in the middle of the circuit.
It's dragged the eternal driver of Robert Northway forward as well, because he's now looking to make another move. He'll certainly get the award for passing the most cars, but I don't know how far up the order he'll actually finish if he keeps getting involved in incidents.
Here's Mole with the run on Thomas Hinz, just ahead of Northway. Up the inside, Hinzy loses a bit of momentum in the middle of the corner, but gathers it up towards the exit. Mole just leaves him enough space to keep the battle going, and Northway's going to be loving this. Both of these drivers getting slowed up by their battle. But they're keeping it nice and clean for the most part. The top 3 breaking away from everyone thanks to this fight between Hinz and Mole. And look, this is getting Jonathan Bain back into contention for the fight, as well as Hinzy and Mole make contact, and Bain goes into Hinz. The yellow flag is out once more. And yeah, I don't think much needs to be said about that. Jonathan Bain very frustrated as a result of that. So
You know, I'm glad I paused before I jumped on that, because initially, right? Initially, I wanted to say, where on earth was the awareness from Bain? Why didn't he lift off and not hit Hinds, who was clearly slow and wide and avoiding the fence? But I just went on board and watched it from the cockpit view of Bain, and Hinds's car was actually obscured pretty much the entire time by that giant thing.
the number 46 of Robert Northway, you mean?
Yeah, and also the air thing that sits on top of the car.
The spoiler?
No, on top of the engine.
Oh, yeah, the engine. Ah, yes. That's the carburetor, isn't it?
I don't know. That's why I called it a thing.
Okay. The big lumpy thing. So yeah, you see the onboard here from Northway, and yeah, doesn't have a very good view of what happened to Hinds there, and well, just saw him a little bit too late.
Yeah, and obviously that camera angle is slightly different from what Bain would have actually been seeing as well. And I can tell you, Bain didn't see much of Hinsey at all until he hit him. So it was really, really unfortunate for both those drivers, and not as bad as it might initially seem on Bain's part.
Cameron Dance just on that previous lap faked a pit entry. You might be seeing that a bit more towards the end of the race. Dance running right up against the wall for some reason. Is he looking?
Hang on, is he on his phone? Is he on his phone? He's probably on his phone.
Oh dear. No, actually, just chilling. Just chilling. Everyone, well, most of the drivers avoiding the pits this time around. The only taker on the pits is Simon Mazzomo in the 051.
I will say there's one thing I hate about oval racing, and it is cautions. As a driver.
Yes. It's always frustrating because, you know, you're getting into a rhythm, you're watching the laps tick away, and then all of a sudden there's this reset and you have to just back off, wait for the caution to end, which can be an excruciating experience from the driver's seat.
iRacing made a move a while back now to make the cautions at the longer tracks a little bit shorter. And after doing a few Martinsville races this week, I almost feel like they need to make the same move for the shorter tracks now. Some of the shorter tracks almost feel like their cautions drag on a lap or two too long. Light should go out this time by.
Fair point as Simon Mazzomo brings it out of his pit box. He's going to rejoin in 11th, the first car a lap down. So the lights are indeed out on the pace car. And they'll form back up in their 2x2 formation to get this race going once again. Coming around to start lap 90 of 125, 36 laps to go at the line.
In race 1 of 2.
Mm-hmm.
11 cars on the lead lap, did we say? Yes. And then we've got 4 cars a lap down. Daniel Stevens is back out there, but he's 18 adrift. Blake Neck is done for the day. Coming for our hopefully final restart of the night. Dance holds him a long time. The iRacing green waves to get us back underway, and Dance still manages to get the jump over them all. In towards turn 1. Dance leads him from Burns, Stadler, Mole, and Northway, but they're 2x2 for second on back. A drag race out of the corner, 3 wide, even further back for about 5th, almost. Really tight. Really stacked them up on that restart race.
Yeah, that created a big fan out for all of the drivers as Eric and Tilly stuck down on the bottom as the field makes their way past. There was just a bit of contact there between Matt Andrews and Alexander Sheridan, but they've sorted themselves out. Robert Northway and Dean Mole still locked in a battle, as are Dwayne Burns and Harold Stadler. And this is potentially going to allow Cam Dance to get away. Northway sticks to the inside, tries to make it 4th place, backs off a bit on the entry to the turn. And Dean Mole's going to maintain that position for at least a straight length longer.
So this is Northway's
too low.
first time in the top 5. Was that? This is his first time in the top 5 all race long, isn't it, Reese? For all the overtaking he's done, he's currently 5th, highest he's been. Looking to put himself into 4th. Almost put himself onto the front bumper of Nowak behind him then. Really slowed himself up through 3 and 4 that time by.
Yeah, it really did. That gave Mole about a car length's advantage on the front straight, but Northway might potentially make use of that gap to draft him. Dwayne Burns is in a bit of trouble just up ahead. Harold Stadler right on his bumper. Has to back off once again. Number 19 loses a slight bit of drive in the middle of the corner, but maintains the position once again. Dance has not managed to get away from these guys.
No. Well, the only reason he did earlier on is because they started fighting behind him. That's the only reason we've seen cars skip away. When they've been single file like this, no one has broken free. The slipstream down these long New Hampshire straights are keeping a lot of drivers in play in this race, and it's really good to see.
Yeah, it certainly is. I've enjoyed the racing that we've had so far tonight. The top 3 in lockstep coming into the first turn, as Dean Mole still managing to keep himself ahead of Robert Northway. Stadler again taking a slightly narrow exit from turns 1 and 2, but sneaking up the inside potentially. No. Dwayne Burns just goes a little bit deeper into the corner and keeps the position there, but I get the feeling that for the Avatar Auto Racing driver, it's only a matter of time before Mr. Stadler goes for the move and makes it stick.
Stadler's faster, and he's getting a bit impatient. You can just tell the way he's entering these corners, he's wanting to make a move, even when he's not quite close enough to do so. I noticed it last lap through turn 3, he took a much shallower line and gained on Burns. That he just wanted to pass him, but couldn't quite, get that overlap. I genuinely think Stadler could challenge Dance for the race win. If he could get rid of that car between them. Because Burns doesn't look like he's got anything to put up a fight against Dance at the moment, does he? It looks like he's hanging on because of the slipstream.
Yeah, looks like it.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah, here we go. That's a good exit there from Harold Stadler, at least off the exit. But once you get to the straight, turns into something else. That's a bit more of an aggressive move. Burns has to go slightly up the track. There we go. Stadler gets alongside on the exit of turn 2. We might just have to slot back in again because the overlap is just not there versus Dwayne Burns. And a little bit too low. He gets onto the flat bottom lane, does Harold Stadler. I mean, he's starting to gain that overlap there on Burns, but he's just not able to make it work.
Well, you know why that didn't work? Because he didn't set it up. He didn't have any momentum to go with it. He just bombed it into the corner and hoped it would stick, and that time it didn't. Behind him, here comes Northway.
Indeed, it looks like he's gotten the move done there on Dean Mole. Still a bit of overlap coming into turn 3, but Mole stays a bit wide and lets Northway go. So number 46 up to 4th place as there's another caution. It looks like a spin for Alexander Sheridan. And that was contact with Matt Andrews that caused that. Andrews tried going up the inside coming into turn 3 and just turned Sheridan around. There was a bit of contact on the straight leading up to it as well. Sheridan going for the early turn in, but Andrews just bulldozing his way through.
First caution we haven't caught live tonight. And yeah, so we catch a caution on lap 100 of this race. 26 to go. We're not going to see anyone come to pit road because of how vital track position is.
Yeah, and we're not too sure on the fuel numbers of everyone at the moment. Who knows? We might see a few drivers in the top 10 have to go in. And we're hearing that Matt Andrews would have been the lucky dog, the lead car of the lap down runners. But since he was involved in the caution, he's not allowed. And so Gavin Barber inherits the lucky dog spot.
I've just finally actually had to look at that incident. I wouldn't want to be making a stewarding call on that. It's actually really tough.
Yeah.
Because obviously Sheridan's wanted to take a bit of a shallower line, but I think he's just turned in too early for having a car underneath him. But at the same time, Andrews could have been lower on the racetrack, so you know, it's a bit on both ends. Andrews could have been lower. Sheridan should have been higher.
Racing incident then is
Yes.
the opinion of us up here in the commentary box. But
Although one thing I
continue.
have noticed with racing stewards in iRacing is sometimes they feel a decision has to be made one way or the other.
Yeah, I agree with that, and certainly seen that happen plenty of times. Of course, stewards doing their job when is necessary, but yes, depending on the league you're racing in, sometimes they can be a bit overzealous and feel that a decision absolutely has to be made, regardless of the circumstances surrounding it. However, we do have faith in the Majors stewarding team.
Yes, we do. We're not talking about you, Majors, don't worry.
Yeah.
In fact, we're not really talking about any specific league in general. We're just, spitballing, as you do, under cautions.
That's it. Well, lights are off on the iRacing pace car, and the drivers are going to be reforming their 2x2. It's going to be an out-and-out sprint here to the very end of this first race. And Cameron Dance maintaining the lead. Can Dwayne Burns hold on to take second, or will Harold Stadler be able to spring a move? Will Robert Northway be able to make himself known here? He was already almost put out of contention at least twice in the race so far, but he's found himself in that fourth spot, and he'll want to try and take advantage of that. One more turn to go then, and Burns will be shadowing Dance very closely here. The rear view from the Fitzstein number 27. How early will he elect to go? Pace car goes in. Dance goes a bit early before the iRacing green flag. Harold Stadler could see that happening as well. And we'll get alongside Dwayne Burns coming into turn one and turn him around. Oh, whoa, they keep going though. No caution.
How about it? Oh, I could sense disappointment there. Thomas Hens, what a start. I was watching him. He took them three abreast off the line, and he jumped all the way up against the fence. I want a replay on board with him when we can of that restart, because he has gone all the way up to P4, and he has had himself a brilliant restart.
Absolutely he has. Big disadvantage, though, for Dwayne Burns. He's fallen back into fifth place. Robert Northway promoted to second now, and he's got some clear air ahead of him to try and get up to Cameron Dance. As we look further back in the field, Dean Moll getting shadowed by Jonathan Bain and Simon Mazzomo in 8th and 9th. Mazzomo looking to make his way a bit further up here. Back onto the lead lap for him. But it seems that Moll is working that line very nicely as Daniel Stevens down in 16th place. many laps down, 16 to be exact. Gets the move done on Eric and Tilly and tries to throw a spanner into the works for this battling in the lower reaches of the top 10 on the lead lap.
Wild restart, shakes up the order. Robert Northway second. Here's a virtual racing score replay of what happens into turn 1. Too far up the racetrack from... Was that Stadler that caused that? Yeah. And you can see Hinsey in his bright yellow and green machine picking his way through that. Look at his jump. Goes to the middle, picking off 2 spots straight away, and then the carnage of the spin in front of him. Smoke, you can't see where to go. Somehow, he manages to pick the right spot. Gets to the outside, he gets the momentum. Talk about a great restart.
Yeah, that was fantastic from Thomas Hins. And remains in 4th place for his troubles. Harold Stadler is starting to make a recovery. He's remained in 3rd place in the midst of all of that and starting to pressure Robert Northway. So now again, there is meat in a Fitzstye sandwich, and this time it is the number 46 as Josh Nowak gets up the inside of Dwayne Burns coming onto the front straight, and Burns had to correct a bit for some oversteer. That's allowed Nowak alongside, and Burns will just have to let him go here.
Josh Nowak, good recovery for him coming on. Back up to P5. Been involved in a couple incidents, hasn't he? Bringing himself back into the mix with about 15 to go. Just needs to complete this move on Dwayne Burns, which is proving a lot easier said than done. Because Burns keeps getting those good exits.
He's doing well around the outside, but Nowak, it seems, has eliminated the overlap. He's still going to give Burns the room around the outside because he's not quite sure if he was fully ahead of him or not, and Burns had to back out of it there, have a couple of goes at turning in. These tyres starting to show their age on these cars. It's making it a lot harder to keep those smooth lines going through the corners. But this is giving an advantage to Thomas Hins up ahead. Won't have to worry about Nowak for a few more laps, as it looks like that's finally move completed for the number 73.
It is. Mizomo and Bain have got a line of cars waiting for them to sort out their battle.
Oh, yeah.
Bowen, Stevens just making the move on Bowen for track position, mind you. Stevens is 18 laps adrift, as Mizomo is again struggling to make a move. While on the inside, he's got a real issue making overtakes, Mizomo, it seems. Here we go. Get the power down, move up the road. Move it up, move it up, move it up, move it up.
We go.
There you go. He just needed that hint of aggression to get up in front of Bain.
Well, Bain's going to try and serve him back here. No, not going to work out for him. Mizomo's still going all the way down to the yellow line, and I don't know, it looks like he seems comfortable down there because he's maintained the position there versus Bain. Meanwhile, the top 3 group, Cameron Dance, Robert Northway, and Harold Stadler, all together, as they're going to have 12 laps to go when they cross the line next. And this is a very tight battle. It looks like Thomas Hins hasn't quite been able to get the pace he
Bain's blown
needs.
his engine.
Oh no! Well, he's down on the apron and is going to make it into the pits, so there's no caution for him. I think that's just all of the little dings and bumps that he's gained over the course of the race reaching their logical conclusion. So I think that's going to be a retirement for Bain in this first race. As Stadler continuing to pressure Northway, who's continuing to pressure Cameron Dance. This is a great battle for the lead.
How did he blow his engine? You know what shifted? How is it? He didn't have any visible damage either.
Might be the engine overheating, because he was following Mizomo for quite some time.
Well, not really. He was on the outside of Mizomo, wasn't he?
Yeah, and it looked like the engine blew.
Entering.
Yeah, entering turn 3 after the lift.
I wonder if he accidentally downshifted. time to go on board. Dance certainly leaning in a lot more now later in this race.
Yeah, he's really pushing hard here. He knows that he's in contention here for the first race victory. It's 10 laps to go. So if you're going to dial up the aggression, now is the time. Stadler just running a lane up there to try and get a good straight line exit coming onto the start-finish straight. Robert Northway, I think, just biding his time. He'll want to wait until the last possible moment to make the move. Because it's unclear if he has the pace to get away from Dance if he makes the move now. But Dance is just holding them up right now. Holding on to that lead for dear life.
I just went back and listened to Baines on board, and I've just seen a YouTube chat as well, which confirms it. Yeah, he did grab first.
Oh,
as
no.
he came into the corner. He bumped his paddle, he says in YouTube chat, and he accidentally grabbed first. He actually got the car a little bit loose, which I saw on the onboard shot, so he did well not to spin it out. He quickly put it back into second, but damage was done. Here comes Northway. Late look to the inside on Cameron Dance, but at this point in the field, I don't think you can be opportunistic with your moves, Northway. You've got to set them up, especially when your teammate is behind you.
Yeah, Northway's at the tactical disadvantage here in the middle of the two Fitstye cars. Got to be careful when he decides to get the move done. You see Stadler just shadowing him into turn 3. And I see Cameron really working the wheel on the exit. It seems that those rear tyres are almost done on the number 27. They remain in order.
His neck's almost done as well.
Yeah, goodness me. I'm getting a bit of neck ache just looking at it. But Northway right on the bumper of Dance. Stadler lost out slightly on the exit of that corner.
This is... I don't know, Northway. You had a really good opportunity there, bud. Dance was really compromised heading into 1 and 2. Northway could have set him up very nicely through 3 and 4. He would have been very close entering the corner. Could have entered slightly higher, turned down, and got the exit. But he just screwed it up slightly. He's going to go for it. He's got a bit of a run this time. Not much of one, but it's something. Gives it a squirt of the throttle. So close to that left side.
No advantage gain, though, on the exit. They were ever so close to making contact. 4 laps to go now, and Northway is really dialing up the aggression. He wants this win after topping practice, messing up qualifying, starting from the back, and being involved in 2 incidents that brought out cautions. This is the dream result for Robert Northway if he can pull this off. Dance once again struggling with slight oversteer on the exit of the 4th turn. Lap 123 of 125. Now, it looks like Thomas Hinz and Josh Nowak are starting to catch up to this top 3 pack. They've been gaining slightly every single lap. It remains to be seen whether or not they can make themselves known when the white flag flies. Northway's going to have to wait for another lap again here.
2 laps to go. It's going to come down to the last lap, I suspect. Will it come down to a dive from Northway? Into 1, he goes for that dive. Touches the yellow line, touches Dance. Dance gets loose, it's a bump, it's a run, it's a slide from Northway. Dance with a strong exit. Stadler with the run as well. He backs out of it because Northway covers. But Dance still leads this race. Northway's still second. Stadler's now under pressure from Hinz, who's 2 is outside for 3rd. We're going to come to the white flag here, Reese, and Dance has got a couple of car lengths. Northway needs to absolutely nail 1 and 2 here and get the mother of all exits. Fight is on for 3rd.
Absolutely, the fight is on for 3rd. Thomas Hinz trying around the outside of Harold Stadler, cannot get it done. Stadler with the narrower exit. He's going to leave Hinsey maybe just a slight bit of room there on the outside. Northway has only one more chance here, straight to the inside. Bit of oversteer. Oh no, he hasn't gotten it done. Lost momentum at a crucial moment. So Cameron Dance is going to cross the line in the lead here and take the win in race 1. Hinsey almost got Stadler for third. Wow, what a finish that was.
Northway almost had it queued up out of turn 2. And he had the faintest of wiggles. He just applied the power a fraction too early. If he hadn't have had, he had a slight bit of oversteer. If he hadn't have had that, he would have had the run on Dance into turn 3. And we could see live, he had a big swipe at his rear bumper. He tried to give him a little nudge. He would have got there. That was so close. And we get to do it again with an inverted top 10. Northway, he's had all the practice passing cars. And he will like his chances, won't he? But let's look at how they finished in race 1.
Indeed, it was Dance, Northway and Stadler. Your top 3, with Thomas Hinz in 4th, Josh Nowak completing the top 5. Dwayne Burns was in contention for the win, but slipped back to 6th in the late stages. Dean Moll and Simon Mazzomo 7th and 8th. Shane Bowen makes it both Avatar Auto Racing cars in the top 10, with Eric and Tilly recovering there to finish in 10th place.
Coming home in 11th, last car on the lead lap, Gavin Barber recovers from his Skyward wreck earlier on. John Sorensen is the first car lap down ahead of Alexander Sheridan, Matt Andrews, and then Jonathan Bain, Daniel Stevens, Blake Nick, 16th and 17th, and then some stupid idiot who registered as a driver instead of a spectator for this race in 18th. So we got a 5-minute warm-up before we go back for our second race.
Indeed we do, and I think that's an opportune time for us to step aside very quickly here on SimSpeed TV, but we will return momentarily and bring you the second of our 125 lap races here tonight. It's the Musket 250, round 4 of the International Division of the Majors series.
Yeah, so we're using the VRS Direct Force Pro this year. We have a wheel adapter right here, so I'm using the rim I used last year, but the motor right here produces a lot of power, a lot of precision, and it helps me, just feel the car more, feel the car a lot quicker, especially, this week we're at Sonoma. I can feel it, when it hits the curbs, any little change in the car, the wheel reacts a lot quicker than your typical gear-driven or belt-driven wheel. For example, if you're on oval and the rear tires break loose, force feedback on it corrects a lot quicker than your typical wheels. There's no resistance pretty much as far as being able to make quick corrections on the wheel. So all that, paired with how precise the wheel itself is, it makes it to where it helps you as a driver, to find that extra hundredth or thousandths of a second. So when you're getting a direct drive wheel, especially the VRS wheel, it's heavy duty. It's got good weight to it, it's not a plastic toy. It feels like you can really beat up on it. A lot of people have issues with their plastic gear-driven wheels just kind of breaking after a couple years. This thing just feels like it can go forever. The forces are really strong where if you might have to let go of the wheel if you get into the wall. You can adjust all that with the settings on it and stuff, but the wheel itself doesn't play around. It's got way more strength than you could ever need, and that's what makes it good, that you can adjust that down to whatever the car needs. So initially you'll be able to get the controller box and the motor together, and eventually you will be able to add a rim onto that option. They'll also be including a button plate on it to put on the rim to have all sorts of different buttons and functionality. Also, pedals are coming, so that's a pretty big deal as well. Hasn't been covered too much, but the goal is to also have pedals to go along with the Direct Force Pro. So that's pretty exciting. The wheel feels good. It feels very much like a real world steering wheel. You just kind of feel like what you would imagine the car to feel like. A real steering wheel in a car is very smooth, it's very direct, very quick, and that's what this wheel feels like.
You're watching the International Division of the Majors series. It is the Musket 250 from New Hampshire Motor Speedway, round 4 of this year-long championship, racing the Tour Modifieds in 225 lap races. We've just had the first one, and Cameron Dance came away with the victory, but thanks to the top 10 invert, he's going to be starting right in the middle of the field. If you're just joining us, I'm Reese Gardner, and it's Ryan Jones alongside me in the commentary box. Ryan, that was a pretty good first race, and we get to do it all again, but with some extra work to do for the guys who finished up the top.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how they work their way through the field. Most of them, curiously, had a lot of practice at passing cars in that one. Robert Northway passed the whole field about 3 or 4 times in race 1, it seemed, after many issues. Cameron Dance didn't really pass anyone. He ran towards the front for most of the race, so it's going to be interesting seeing how he goes, having to start from 10th. Of course, he's now won every race this season so far. He's going to have to work slightly harder to continue that streak. And then we're going to have some different names at the front. So Eric Antilli, who led for one of the restarts and quickly fell back on his older tyres, he'll get a chance. Shane Bowen, who was in the mix for a little while, will start second. Mizomo will start third. Now, Mizomo we saw a lot of, and we saw a lot of him struggling to pass. So starting third might give him some sort of advantage.
Yeah, just might. Here is the starting grid then. Thanks to the top 10 invert, it is Antilli on pole with Bowen alongside. Mizomo starting third, and Mizomo was racing in silence for a lot of that first race. His audio went out. Interesting to see if he has fixed that for race 2. Mole starts alongside him with Burns and Nowak on row 3. Thomas Hinz and Harold Stadler start 7th and 8th, and it is Robert Northway and Cameron Dance rounding out the top 10 of your grid.
The rest will line up exactly how they finished in race 1. Barber, Sorensen, Sheridan, Andrews, Bain, Stevens, and Blake Neck. And an idiot. So, Antilli already saying he doesn't expect to stay there and will file towards the back. But I definitely think Bowen can stay there. 100%.
Ooh.
Mizomo, I'm generally not sure. Oh, Mizomo has caused the crash before the start.
Bit slow on the uptake there. He's escaped back to the pits. I think that might be a hardware failure for Simon. He just didn't go when everyone else did, and that caused a bit of a concertina. The drivers behind him suffering a bit of damage there, so there's already dramas before we even got going on our pace lap. Dwayne Burns, Thomas Hinz, Robert Northway and the like, all suffering a bit of damage there. And,
here's the thing. Mizomo never went, so no one behind him should have went. But for some reason, some of those guys on the inside started moving, and then Robert Northway just floored it.
That's a shame. We'll come to the end of our formation lap here, and Antilli is going to lead them away. Race 2 of the Musket 250 is go, and it's a good start from Antilli. Not the greatest start from Dwayne Burns, though. He's fallen slightly back there, allowed Dean Mull to get ahead of him into turn 1 as the field tries their best to sort themselves out on this opening lap. We got, contact.
That would have been a big one.
Certainly would have been. Shane Bowen managing to recover from that slight hit. But away they go again. Josh Nowak with big oversteer on the exit of turn 4. He goes protective towards turn 1 as Harold Stadler tries to get 3rd place back from him.
Gavin Barber's on pit road after also being one of the drivers to gun the throttle despite no cars in front of him moving off the start. Matt Andrews coming to pit road with damage as well. So a shame we're losing a couple before the start. Mizomo's back on the track. He got his car working in the end.
Indeed he did, but unfortunately he's going to be a lap or so. Or no, actually, is he still on the lead lap?
Yes.
Wow, okay, that was a lucky getaway there for Simon Mizomo as we look back at from Dean Mull at Josh Nowak. Mole still maintaining that second as Harold Stadler was unable to get past the number 73, but Nowak is looking aggressive here in these opening laps. There's a gap between Stadler and Dance now, with the winner of race 1 trying to jet up to the back of this top 4 pack. Eric Antilli doing very well to hold on to the lead there as the battling continues. A bit further back, Thomas Hins passing John Sorensen. And have a look at the move there from Daniel Stevens. He's a driver looking for some redemption in this one. Remember, in the previous race, he and Hins made contact in the pits, which resulted in 9 minutes of repairs for Daniel Stevens. So he'll want to get home on the lead lap at the very least here. There's Sorensen goes for the inside on Hins. Hinsey, though, cutting back down and keeping the momentum up on the exit of the turn. Stevens now back into full-on race mode here, looking to gain positions in the draft of Thomas Hins. And have a look at Sorensen having to have a couple of goes at turning in there. It's very difficult to maintain the drive on the inside of the corner, and there we go.
Josh Nowak coming to the lead of the race until he held on for 5 laps, but now Nowak goes to the front with some good moves and an opportunity to put some time between himself and Stadler for about half a lap. Stadler should get by Antilli straight away here. On the brakes into 3 and 4, gets that done. Dean Mole going to try to follow him as well. Now Antilli starts to fall on the outside.
Well, he's got a bit of a gap here to sort himself out, make sure that he has pace, but have a look at the dive there from Cameron Dance. That is almost the slide job that we were talking about earlier on, but Dance...
Antilli's just letting everyone go by, and he's being really, really kind to everyone, but he's also letting himself drop to the back. He's electing to let himself fall to the rear. So he wants to run back there. So we'll see how this one works out for him.
Maybe a slight lack of confidence for Eric Antilli up at the front of the field. Well, either way, it's going to allow Robert Northway to get a bit closer to him and potentially try and have another go at passing a bunch of cars. The Avatar guys running 5th and 6th, Burns and Bowen, both very good oval racers. They've had their best results in the Majors series at oval events. So they've got a lot to play for here, especially considering that they're keeping the winner of race 1 pretty honest here.
Yeah, Dance has not fired off particularly well. Not finding a huge amount of time to Dean Mole. And is that Northway in the YouTube chat who says he's loaded the wrong set in the first race? And if it is, that's slightly worrying. It's slightly worrying because it means he should be quite a bit quicker in the second race.
Well then, we'll be keeping our eyes on Robert Northway for sure. Let's see how he goes. As John Sorensen has fallen back a little bit further here, he's under attack from Jonathan Bain. And that's for positions 12 and 13 at the moment. It's a good exit, though, for Sorensen in the number 66, and Bain's just going to have to watch him here. Go for the shallow entry into turn 1, try and make the move on Alexander Sheridan. Thomas Hins starting to get away from these guys now that the tyres are up to temperature, but with Robert Northway now with the right setup on his car, it's going to be a tough job, I think, for Thomas Hins to try and stay with him, get to the battling pair of Stevens and Antilli just up ahead. Speaking of Stevens and Antilli, there goes the number 3 up the inside, and Eric Antilli again just backing off on the entry to the turn and letting them go. He doesn't want to race particularly hard at this stage. So Nowak, Stadler and Mole, your top 3 still, and they've maintained a healthy gap to Cameron Dance there in 4th. And definitely not the start that Cameron Dance would have wanted. he seems to be having a little bit of trouble keeping the pace up here with the dual pressure from the Avatar Auto Racing guys behind him as the battle between John Sorensen and the number 5 of Alexander Sheridan continues. Jonathan, looks like Sorensen actually making the move on Alexander Sheridan in the last couple of laps and getting that position done. So that's one position up from where he started, but it's on for the lead. Josh Nowak going defensive versus Harold Stadler with Dean Moll in tow. It's a bit of an inverse situation here. At the end of race 1, it was the Fitzstye pair of Dance and Stadler battling with Robert Northway, but now it is 2 kinetic cars, Josh Nowak and Dean Moll, with the one Fitzstye machine of Harold Stadler. How the turns table.
Whoa. Do you know, I think that's actually the first time we've seen the lead car go defensive all night long, even under pressure. And again there, a little slide for Nowak in the middle of 1 and 2 that time by. Gave up some more time. He's struggling for some outright speed with Stadler and Moll keeping the pressure on, forcing him to try and put that power down a little bit earlier, brake up a little bit later, and it's just forcing more and more errors from the driver of that number 73. Slides the rear out of turn 2. Stadler will get a slightly better exit, but he's not quite close enough to challenge him this time. And you can see they all give the wall quite a wide berth down that straight. It all sort of relates back to that talking point towards the middle stage of race 1 about how hard it is to judge where the right-hand side of these cars are a lot of the time. You just want to give yourself a bit of extra breathing room a lot of the time so you don't accidentally graze against that fence, because once you hit it, it's so hard to get unhooked from it a lot of the time.
Yeah, indeed it is. This is the view from Dean Moll, and you know it's very obvious visually why it's so difficult to judge where the right side is. These cars are designed specifically for oval racing, so the body is shifted over to the left-hand side, put more weight on the left, which results in a bit of a better weight distribution side to side, allows a bit more load to be put through the right-hand side tyres.
Cameron Dance now starting to find some time, dragging Burns with him. Both of them quicker than the top 3 of the previous lap, side by side though. Further back between Sheridan and Sorensen for P11 in this one. Sheridan up top, Sorensen down low. Sheridan's going to clear him. On the brakes, entering the corner on the outside. It's not generally where the outside prevails, but he does a good job.
And they've caught up to Northway and Hinz as well. These two in their own battle. Oh my goodness, that was deep there from Alexander Sheridan. Might have missed his braking point slightly, but good job to avoid getting into the back of Thomas Hinz. Allows John Sorensen back alongside. My goodness. We're almost preparing ourselves for another caution there. And considering this is the same race length as before, the drivers are going to have to pit at least once here tonight. And if a caution comes out, you're going to be seeing everyone dive for the pit lane to top up their tanks.
After that 2-lap period, where Nowak was really under pressure, he got away for a half a dozen laps, but now Stadler's really heaped the pressure on him again. And he almost gave him a nudge that time through 1 and 2.
Yeah, Stadler's really starting to pile the pressure on now, as it looks like Dean Moll's started to falter slightly. He's falling back into the clutches of Cameron Dance in 4th. And remember, Dance will be dragging the Avatar Auto Racing cars of Burns and Bowen along with him if there is any hint of a mistake from Dean Moll. Stadler again with an even exit versus Josh Nowak, has a look down the straight. These cars don't have mirrors, but a lot of drivers will be running virtual mirrors, and Nowak will be able to see Stadler moving around
They
there,
do
and that
have
might give him a
this.
psychological advantage. Okay, I correct myself. They're
Well.
just not external.
Yeah. Well, it is.
All right.
There you go. There's one.
Okay. Yeah, I was right. They're not external.
No, go back. Come on, Jay. You were on a shot that showed the other one. Not that one. Not that one, Jay. Come on.
Oh, yeah, there we
There
go.
it is. There it is.
Oh, that's borderline. That's borderline.
It's on the out. It's on the outside.
I will die on this hill. Oh, goodness me. Either way, getting things wrong aside, Burns pressuring Cameron Dance here, caught back up to him, and there's been a bit of flux here in the top 6. Dean Moles started to gain again on Stadler and Nowak, who remain as close as they have ever been. Cameron Dance seems comfortable just to sit there at the moment. I mean, maybe in a few laps there's going to be a proper run here from Dwayne Burns, because he's starting to dial up the pressure. Oh, there's the move for the lead. Josh Nowak and Harold Stadler side by side, and Stadler gets the move done on the exit of turn 4. It's going to leave Nowak a bit of room on the outside, and that kills his run down the front straight. Let's see if Nowak goes for the aggressive turn in. No, he won't. He's going to leave Harold Stadler the room once again.
He almost moved up right into the front left of Nowak. Very wise to leave the door open. There was a moment where there could have been contact for the race lead. We get through unscathed, and now Stadler has completed that move. Just watching Nowak for a few laps there. He's sliding the car around in the middle of the corner and on the exits as well.
Oh no, Stadler made a little mistake there.
Right on cue, Stadler slides. But Stadler hasn't been, except for that one moment. And that's the difference. Stadler's being very consistent, able to keep applying that pressure, whereas Nowak is quick when he keeps it straight, but he keeps having these micro slides which cost him time. And that's why ultimately he's just lost the lead of the race. And back to Cameron Dance in 4th. I suspect if we sat with him long enough, we would eventually go, I give up, we're not going to see any slides from him. And that's why he's running 4th, because he's looking after those tyres.
Yeah, Dance is being very smooth right now, but as you can see, have a look further back here, Robert Northway side by side with Alexander Sheridan on the exit. Sheridan and Sorensen are really making life difficult for Northway and Hinz over these last couple of laps, and they're quite a ways back from any kind of battling for the top few positions here.
What happened to Northway? Should he have loaded the other setup again?
Yeah, maybe he should have. Not too sure. Either way, it doesn't seem to be working out well for him. He doesn't seem anywhere near as quick as he was in the previous race.
No. I know what it will be. It will be the that Constantina. Hell, how do you say it?
Concertina.
Concertina. Yeah. That at the start of the race, when they all checked up behind Mizomo.
Yeah.
He was one of the drivers that got collected by it. And so I suspect both he and Hinze are probably carrying some form of damage. Hinze visibly so. In fact, both of them visibly carrying front-end damage, which is probably affecting their power output.
Well, they'll probably have the spare car checked for when their pit stop inevitably comes around, as Sheridan moves ahead of Sorensen on the front stretch. It looks like the battle for third on back is really starting to heat up, because Daniel Stevens has made himself known at the back of this pack and going side by side with Shane Bowen, trying to get a bit further up the field here. Remember, Stevens finished 18 laps down thanks to that incident with Thomas Hinz in the previous race, so he's got an awful lot to play for here. He's going to have to be careful, though. It's still very early days, and any kind of contact can bring out a caution.
Why don't you give us a reminder on the point system for tonight, then, with 2 races on the card?
That is something that I'm going to have to leave to you, Ryan.
Oh, I insist you do it, Reese.
I cannot take it.
Oh, Dance having a big dive on Mole. Thanks, Dance. Into 1 and 2 that time. Does well to keep it off the left side. But he had to use the apron a little bit. And now he goes to the slide up into 3 and 4. He can't quite clear that 31 car, though. He's earlier with his power application. And he clears Mole on the exit. So Dance moves himself up and into 3rd. And it looked like he just got a bit impatient. Wanted to finally get that move done. And he did so. Nicely. So he's 1.5 seconds off the race lead now. Keep an eye on that time and see whether it comes in or goes out over the next 10 or so laps.
Yes, indeed. With Dean Mole taking the outside line again. Dwayne Burns managing to... Oh, you know what? I'm seeing the same thing from Dean Mole every lap here as Dwayne Burns gets up the inside. Mole is actually making contact with the outside wall coming into turn 1, and that's ruining his runs through the corners. He's done that quite a few times in this race already, and that's allowed Dwayne Burns to get alongside him and past him there.
Yeah, so he's back to 5th now, Mole. Still in a good spot. Still right in the mix. But 2 seconds away from the race lead. Luckily, he just grazed the fence. You're not going to pick up any damage. It's just going to severely hamper your pace and gradually annoy you further and further. That seems like a bit of an aggressive move from Daniel Stevens. It probably was. Doesn't work out.
Well, he has to sit behind Dean Mole once again as Dwayne Burns now to the front of that miniature pack. Cameron Dance on his lonesome here. And now it looks like he's going to start turning up the pace here to try and catch up to Josh Nowak and Harold Stadler in those top 2 positions. It's been a very calm opening few laps of this race. And it seems that the closest racing through the whole field is for 9th on back, with Hins and Northway still potentially carrying damage from that start of the formation lap incident, with Sorensen, Mizomo, Sheridan and Barber all in a line behind them. Very close.
We've gone 38 laps without a caution at the start of this one. We went a similar region, didn't we, in race 1? And the caution stacked up towards the end. Remember, they've got to make a pit stop in order to make it home on fuel. So they have still got to worry about that as Northway gets it wrong in 1 and 2. Slides up the road, almost comes back down into Mizomo. Northway struggles continue. Gets it wrong again into 3 and 4. That looked like he locked it up in the rear end.
Yeah, indeed it did. Struggling a little bit there for
Normally,
some grip.
Yeah, that's a really odd one, because normally with these cars, all the bias for the brakes would be towards the front. Generally, that's what you find with stock cars when you go oval racing, is all the bias for the brakes is towards the front of the car. So it is odd to find a car locking up and having the rear come around on you.
Yeah, very odd. Maybe the bias a bit too far to the rear, maybe slight damage has something to do with it, but either way.
He's praying for a caution.
Yeah, certainly is. Daniel Stevens gets alongside Dean Mole here, diving down to the inside. Mole just getting up onto the less grippy tarmac on the outside, and Stevens maintains the momentum there. Nice bit of wheel work through turns 3 and 4 as well. And it looks like the move will be completed this time around. He's going to move slightly up the racetrack on the exit and secure the move there versus Dean Mole. Cameron Dance is still chipping away at that gap to Nowak and Stadler ahead. And we might just see another 3-car battle for the race lead soon.
Well, it was almost 10 laps to go when I said it's a second and a half. Let's check in 10 laps time. It's now a second from Stadler to Dance. So he's definitely coming towards them. And those early laps for Dance, where he just didn't seem to have the pace of the leaders, well, I think we can definitely put it down to tyre conservation.
Yeah, Dance is really doing well to take care of his tyres so far. And it's worked out for him very nicely. Remember, drivers only get 2 sets of tyres per race in this particular event. So the more you can conserve them, the better. Either way, you're going to be dealing with some big tyre wear at the end of a stint, but if you can just avoid pushing hard.
And don't forget, Reese, that includes the set you start on.
Yes, indeed.
So you can only come to pit road and grab tyres once. Which really makes it tricky, doesn't it? Because if you come down and take your big gulp of fuel at halfway, right? And then there's a caution with 20 to go. You're kind of screwed because you'd really want to bolt on fresh tyres. And if there's someone behind you who has that option, they've got a major advantage on you.
Yeah, to the tune of, at least a few tenths a lap, which in oval racing is absolutely huge.
It's not even the lap time advantage. It's even just the ability to just drive around the outside of them.
Yeah.
That's what you could do. Just drive around the outside of everyone. Pinch them down in the corner. And because they've got such little grip on their tyres, they have to really lift off and struggle to get the power down. You, meanwhile, on your fresh rubber, slam the power down, get the exits, and you're pulling off the holy moves around the outside to get the race win. So there's some very interesting tactics to play out with tyres if cautions fall the way they can, as they so often do.
Well, we still have yet to see that happen in this second race so far. It's the 051 of Simon Mazzomo. Tries to, we've got a spinner. And the yellow flag is out. There we go, and it's Robert Northway. Oh, that's a big shame. Well, I'm taking a look at this, and it seems that he just went for a spin on his own there. He was slightly influenced by a little wiggle from Gavin Barber down on the inside on the Virtual Racing School replay. Barber goes for the move. And, yeah, you see a slight slide there. Northway overcorrects, and the car is just sent into the slide. Fortunately, no contact, no damage for either of those drivers. And it's not a good running here for Robert Northway. Oh, Sheridan, though, might have gotten a slight nick there from the number 46. And I think this is a good time to just get back to the point we were talking earlier as we see the leaders coming into the pits. What were you going to say, Ryan?
It's 6 laps longer than the first caution we had in race 1. I remember, because I remember them coming in at lap 42 and going, they're just shy of the critical lap. They're just north of the critical lap this time.
Righto, so they should be able to make it all the way to the end if they all fill their tanks up completely. And there's probably going to be at least a couple of drivers who just fill up a little bit and try and get out ahead of everybody for track position as Northway brings it in. But I was going to say, the point that we were almost getting to before about the points format, for this event. It's pretty simple. It's literally just split down the middle. You get equal points for both races. So for the likes of Robert Northwaite, who hasn't quite been able to make his way forward like he wanted to, he could potentially be missing out on some very good points despite that fantastic result in race 1. And away they go.
I saw one person take at least 2 tires. And I would have to assume they took 4, because it was the left sides that went up, which doesn't seem like the greatest 2-tire strategy call to make. So I would have to assume they took 4. I didn't see many take tires, though.
Well, it's short stops here for a lot of the drivers. They've elected to jump out a bit early. 36.5 seconds for Dean Mole and Eric Intilli, who inherit the race lead. Matt Andrews, and it looks like that's Jonathan Bain there coming out of his box as well, just behind.
No, Andrews
Northway coming in again.
Yeah, they all came out to stay ahead of the pace car.
Avoid going a lap. No, not going a lap down.
Yeah, they would have gone a lap down if one person stayed out.
Yes, righto.
Well, I would have been very curious to see what would have happened if they had have gotten lapped by the pace car. Surely that would have messed up with iRacing somehow.
Yeah, for sure. That was one of the big worries that drivers were having with the original 250 lap single race format. That there might be a big error in the results reporting from the sim if everyone went in and spent ages and ages in their pit boxes while the pace car continued going around the track.
Pace car race goes green and everyone's still on the pits.
Yeah. Talk about a dash off pit road.
Yeah, the true race off pit road. So it looks like Hinz shakes out to be the race leader. Oh, shit, look at that. And Stadler second. Lights are out on the pace car,
Yes.
but no one's really quite formed up.
Oh, this is going to be a bit of a mad dash.
Dance third. Sorensen a lap down, second on the outside. It's all messy. We're restarting, though, for the first time in a race 2. About half the field restarts with the leader. The other half, I don't know where they are.
Yeah, well, Dean Mole and Josh Nowak are still on the back straight here, and Thomas Hinz leading the way as the 2 Fitstye cars of Stadler and Dance side by side. Dance allows Stadler to go by him on the outside into turn 3. And Dance going back into the pits. A green flag stop. This is going to really cost him.
I wouldn't have done it.
Might be a penalty. Might have gotten a penalty for speeding on pit road. That seems most likely to me.
Mizomo's only just come out of pit road as well.
Goodness me, this is really messy.
All of this seems like things that shouldn't have happened. It's a lap 46 of the race. None of them should have gone a lap down. There's no reason. It was a penalty for Dance because he went straight through.
No, he stopped.
He did?
Yeah. It was only a very short stop. I think it might have been a stop and go penalty.
So yes, a penalty.
Right.
But more cars coming back. More penalties? This is odd.
Yeah. Burns and
they,
Bowen both.
If they
need
all
to.
stop and go as well, iRacing has officially broken. But yeah, no, this is all very strange because no one should have really had an issue. This happened in race 1 and no one had an issue. They all should have come in, got enough fuel for whatever needs to keep them on the lead lap, and gone back out and gotten tyres if they needed or wanted or could without going a lap down, and then restarted. There's still 80 laps left in the race. Sorry, over 100 laps left in the race. There's no reason to frantically fill the tank up.
I am very confused right now.
Based off the trends in race 1, you could pretty safely bank on a caution. So, the rundown on this lap is Stadler from Hinz, 2.5 seconds back to Matt Andrews, Robert Northwaite, Alexander Sheridan, Daniel Stevens, who was 5 seconds away. And then Eric Antilli in 7th is 15 seconds off. Dance is 20 seconds away in 8th. Dean Moll is 22 seconds away in 9th. Nowak is 25 seconds away in 10th. And is also behind Dean Moll, who I missed. And then a lap down, you've got Jonathan Bain and John Sorensen, who are battling each other for the Lucky Dog spot. A few cars in between them. Dwayne Burns, Simon Mizomo, and Shane Bowen as well. And then Gavin Barber is 2 laps down.
Righto. So, an incredibly mixed up running order here and a very messy restart in the second race of the Musket 250. As we see, coming into turn 1 for 3rd place, Matt Andrews, Jonathan Bean and Robert Northway all battling, and Northway, it looks like, really struggling to keep that car going. He left 2 tyre tracks off the exit of the turn, so a bit of a slide there for the number 46, and big dive up the inside. It looks like Bean actually contacted the wall on the entry into the corner, so that'll gift Robert Northway that position.
Should note those cars that are a lap down as well. They're racing pretty much with the leaders. I mean, Bain in 11th is behind Northway and Andrews, who are 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, so 2 battle groups coming together here. And everyone just hoping that if another caution comes out, then they'll be able to sort out their positions and get a bit of extra track position there. As another inside move for Robert Northway. Again, he's really struggling to keep that thing straight through the turns. This is the view from Mr. Northway on the back of Matt Andrews, who leads up that pack. They've got Thomas Hinz and Harold Stadler quite a way ahead, with Shane Bowen on the verge of going 2 laps down, just ahead of our 2 race leaders.
Just watching this between Barber and Sorensen. They're not battling for position, but Dwayne Burns behind is also in there, and he is trying to battle Sorensen for position. So Sorensen wants to get by Barber and put him between himself and his actual rival on the racetrack. Unfortunately for him, Barber's no slouch, and passing him is proving a little bit difficult right now.
Yes, indeed.
All this happening just behind, or just in all this happening, sorry, Reese, in between 5th and 6th on the racetrack.
Yeah, goodness me. Yeah. 6th place, Daniel Stevens. 5th place, Alexander Sheridan. And Burns almost getting alongside John Sorensen there. But Gavin Barber stays resolute in his defense. Sorensen runs a bit wide in the middle of the corner, but he's going to get a good run there off the corner, with Burns just avoiding getting into his rear quarter.
I like how our leaderboard randomly decides at 63 laps to go, it's going to go from 62 of 125 to 63 to go.
Now 62 to go. That was a calculated move from our director, Jay Kennedy, switching up the overlays to display laps to go instead of laps completed. Andrews and Northway are side by side, just ahead of this pack here. With, that could almost get messy. Gavin Barber up the inside of John Sorensen, still trying his best to stay ahead of this pack.
I smell a caution.
Yes, this could easily go south. Sorensen struggling to get the front turned in, but he's managed to get a nice straight line exit, get the run on Alexander Sheridan. So now, question is, will he be able to finally get by Gavin Barber? It's certainly been a tough one so far for him. And now Daniel Stevens is making his way into the midst of this pack. Stevens, of course, running in P6, and Sheridan having to go slightly wide here with the number 3 down on the low side. So this could be what John Sorensen was hoping for, with Mr. Stevens going for it and putting himself between Sorensen and Sheridan. Oh no, there's been a slide there for Gavin Barber, and you smelled a caution, Ryan. We've got one.
I smell tyre smoke and hurt feelings as well. Gavin Barber goes around on the exit of turn 4, just too eager on the throttle. Gassed it up and got a slight helping hand from John Sorensen, but he was going around regardless. Sorensen just happens to be there.
Yes, indeed. Well, we get the virtual racing school replay, see what happened to the number 25 here. And as he gets up onto the less grippy tarmac, the rear end just lets go, and Sorensen giving him a bit of help, but nonetheless, Barber did that on his own.
That's a perfect example of the tarmac change there, because as soon as he got up there, around she went.
Yep. Oh, was that even contact? It was very close at the very least. There was a contact sound, but we know that.
So probably not.
Yeah, we know that you know, the way the internet works. Sometimes we can hear a contact sound when there isn't contact on either driver's end. But a lot of drivers now going for the pits once more.
Well, this is good news for the likes of Dance, Nowak, and Mole and all of them. Bane. And Sorensen should get the lucky dog. So Stadler comes to pit road with Thomas Hinds, Northway, Andrews, Stevens, Sheridan, and everyone, really.
Stevens only stopped for 11.7 seconds. He's rocketed himself up to 3rd place. Stadler rejoins in 4th. Ben in 5th. Northway 6th.
Tyres going on Thomas Hinds' car. Right sides going on Stadler's. Stadler may have been the one I saw take left sides earlier then, because he took right sides only then, did Stadler. Hinsey takes all 4, and Tilly taking all 4 by the looks of things as well.
Down on pit road is Dean Mole as well. Mole from 3rd place. And aside from Gavin Barber, who's elected to get back into pit lane after his crash, only other car on the lane is Dean Mole, and he's going to fall bit of a ways back here. Let's see how long he's stopped for, because he doesn't want to go a lap down. Takes right side tyres. It looks like he's going for all 4 as well, because you see the left side jacks going up as well.
Yeah, not a bad time to take it. 56 to go. I think now's the right time. No.
Ugh.
Did you see what I saw?
Potential unsafe pit exit.
Yes.
Yes, Dean Mole put his right side tyres over the yellow line coming through turns 1 and 2, so that might be an unsafe exit for him, but remains to be seen. There you go. At the very least, that was borderline.
That will be a stop go penalty, I suspect. It could be the penalty that Cameron Dance got earlier on, actually.
Yeah, just pushing a little too hard on pit exit and running a little wider than you need to. It's a very narrow pit exit lane here at New Hampshire. You got to be very precise.
It's not the narrowest, but it's yeah, it's not the widest, that's for sure. It is a silly mistake to make, you would think, under caution, but yeah, believe me, it's so easy to do. Because you're not really thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to get a restart here. And the majority of the field formed up here behind Josh Nowak, who's inherited the race lead. With Stevens in second, Stadler in third, Robert Northway fourth, Cameron Dance rounding out the top 5, as that is a great start there from Josh Nowak. Let's see what the Fitstye duo can do here. Moving to the inside of the course, Daniel Stevens holding on in the middle of the road, as is Robert Northway, both of them getting a very good exit. So both Stadler and Dance have been slightly compromised here.
Dance could have taken them 3 wide, but he elected just to push his teammate down the back straight, and Stadler pushes through the corner, getting some great mid-corner speed underneath Daniel Stevens, but Stevens gets a good exit. Northway up there as well, sandwiched between Stadler and the fence. Going a bit wide in the corner though, that 46. Stadler, really good in the middle of the corner, but just struggling to get the power down quick enough on the exits. Dance definitely getting held up, but he's able to start in line ahead of Northway.
Stadler with a great throttle application, just moving ahead of Daniel Stevens, but leaves him room on the outside coming into turn 1. Stevens going very deep on the outside, and they are the corks in the bottle here as Stadler completes the move and gets into the wall. Oh goodness, everyone takes avoiding action though. Stevens and Dance just avoiding getting into Stadler there, with Northway again struggling to keep that car going straight 100% of the time. There's a little bit of damage that Stadler would not have wanted, and it's really compromised his run.
Stevens is really lucky he didn't turn himself across Cameron's car, actually, as he was avoiding Stadler there.
Yeah, very much so. Stevens, though, remains in second, and Dance and Stadler swapping positions as a result of that incident, and big concentration for Cameron Dance. The lean is on. He has got a Daniel Stevens to pass if he wants any chance of taking dual race victories tonight here in the Musket 250. "50 laps to go then. We're about to get to crunch time. And all the pressure is on Josh Nowak and Daniel Stevens at the moment.
Northway has got himself into the spare car, and he's looking competitive. Running in 5th, got the car speed that he had in race 1, so it seems. But he's got to slide that corner out of turn 2. Thomas Hinds with him as well in 6th, so don't discount either of those two as this one draws into its final 50 laps. We saw race 1 very quickly become a 3-car fight towards the closing dozen laps. At the moment, I think any one of our top 6 could still win this race.
Yeah, it's all to play for.
And really, it's still a long way to go.
Yes, indeed, especially if we get a couple more cautions as Daniel Stevens has a look up the inside of Josh Nowak.
That was good. That was good for Stevens. It unsettled Nowak, didn't it?
And here it is, the move into turn 1. It's probably going to take a lap or so for this move to be completed. But Stevens is looking very pacey here. Looking for some redemption after his poor result in the first race. Nowak still getting really good drives off the corner. Stevens just getting down into the bottom lane, and that might have unsettled him slightly. He's going to have to keep trying at this move. And that's only bringing Dance and Stadler back into contention here, with Northway very close behind.
You can turn left off the exit and use the flat end bottom of the racetrack. That's fine. It helps you get your power down early, like the car on the outside is doing. Right here, if you can rotate and get the power down, that's brilliant. Stevens doesn't need to there. But it's just the middle of the corner where you don't want to use that bottom that very bottom of the racetrack. But it's certainly an option for the exits to help you get the power down. And Stevens did it a couple laps ago. Doesn't do it there. He just about cleared him for a fraction of a second. But he didn't do anything about it. This time there's contact into the corner. And up the road goes Nowak. Jumps back down into third place. Stevens into the race lead with 45 to go.
Nowak immediately defensive versus Stadler, and he knows that now that he's on the outside, he is a bit of a sitting duck. If he can't get ahead of Stadler, moves ahead of him now on the run into turn 3. Robert Northway is going to try and follow him around the outside here, but Stadler and Nowak make contact. Nowak goes around. Stadler gets into the wall. That's going to be another caution for sure.
And out of this race, because he lands on his roof, he will have to take a tow back to pit lane, and that will put him a lap down at least.
What a shame for Harold Stadler. Back to the pits for him. Let's take another view of that. So Stadler on the inside of Nowak. And coming into the third and fourth turns, yeah, you just see Nowak trying his best to keep it going, but Stadler just pushed up into him.
Yeah, that one's on Stadler, regardless.
Yeah.
You could see what he was doing. Stadler was trying to push that throttle to help the car rotate mid-corner, which is what we've seen from a number of drivers when they're on the inside of someone, is just when they get that burst of throttle, it helps the car rotate in the center. Stadler tried it. Unfortunately, all it did was plow up the corner and into the side of Nowak, who did a good job to save it, for the most part, with the assistance of Stadler again.
Yes, indeed. We've only got we've got some cars again on pit lane. Out of our top 6, Robert Northway was the only one to go for the stop, but he's joined in there by Simon Mazzomo, Dwayne Burns, who's just finished taking tyres, Gavin Barber, and, Barber retiring. Jonathan Bain is the other car there in pit lane. So, 2 retirements so far, Barber and Stadler.
If Northway's chucked fresh tyres on, then that is a huge threat for the field, because he is going to have that 15-lap fresher rubber than everyone else.
Yeah, a little bit more to play for at the end. A bit more rubber to spare. It looks like Harold Stadler has not retired from this race. He's made it out of the pits, gotten his spare car done. Since he was close to pit lane, the tow time wouldn't have been that long. Yes, he's going to be a lap or so down, but at the very least, he is going to be able to get to the finish.
Yeah, probably a bit premature in saying out of the race, out of the running for the win, most likely, but 2 laps down as a result of having to tow back to pits. If he'd just been able to land on his wheels, he could have driven back to pit lane, gotten a spare car, and stayed in the lead lap, but unfortunately, it doesn't fall that way for him, literally.
Such is sim racing life sometimes. Well, Daniel Stevens, resting his head on his hand in contemplation of what the remaining 41 laps of this race will bring for him. Because he's one of the guys there on slightly older rubber, and he's going to have quite the fight on his hands here, because Cameron Dance will be reinvigorated, I think, after the loss of his teammate. He'll want to gain that glory for Fitstyle Motorsports. Take 2 from 2 tonight. Josh Nowak looking to go for the win that he's been threatening to do since the start of race 1. And Thomas Hinz up into 4th place as well. This is going to be quite the restart.
"40 laps to go. I suspect it won't be our last, but we're getting down to that time. when you can't be affording to give up that track position.
Daniel Stevens goes early on the exit of turn 4. A great start. Slots in ahead of Cameron Dance. Side by side between Hinz and Nowak into turn 1. With Hinz just keeping it on the grippier tarmac down low. And gets a good exit there versus Josh Nowak. Dean Moll tries to grab draft from either or both of them, and Hinz moves ahead of Nowak up into 3rd. We've got to remember Robert Northway as well. He started in 12th on the restart. He's already up a position into 11th as it's side by side between Dwayne Burns and Simon Mazzomo for 9th and 10th place. And Northway really getting his nose in here. Big slide for Northway. Oh, he manages to recover, but he's lost all that momentum. He's going to lose that position he got from John Sorensen.
Dance looking at the race lead. He drops to left sides onto the apron, looking way down low on Stevens. He realizes that's not going to work, but he wants this race lead, and he wants it quick. As Thomas Hinz got himself up to 3rd. And the top 3 have got themselves a lead of about a second over everyone else.
Another good exit for Cameron Dance, but Stevens keeping it in the middle of the road, tries to go defensive, but Dance moves straight down to the inside. Going for the move once again. Pushes up the racetrack ever so slightly. Stevens keeping him honest here. Oh, that might have been a slight bit of side-by-side contact between the two of them on the start-finish stretch. Dance again all the way down to the apron, trying to leap forth on the entry to the turn. But Thomas Hinz, I think, will be loving this. It's allowing him a proper look in to this top 3 battle. As a bit further back, Dean Moll goes up the inside of Josh Nowak, and Nowak has no response for him.
This is great. Stevens is someone that knows from his oval experience how to run the outside when someone's beneath him. And he's using that right now to fend off the advances of Dance, who's getting impatient. He's using up Stevens' left side right now. They make contact twice in the space of a few hundred meters. Stevens just pinching him down in the middle of the corner, right there. Not allowing Dance to come up the racetrack at all. On the exit, it's going to get very tight. And Stevens holds on again at the line. The gap between them, 0.02 of a second. Hinzy, nowhere to go. And look how low Dance goes. Right down, all 4 tyres almost on the apron that time. He's trying to do the proper slide job this time. Trying to get clear of Stevens and move up in front. It didn't work out. Going really impatient. And that is the oval experience of Daniel Stevens. Running that outside. Running it perfectly to keep the lead of the race, where the inside is preferred.
That's a fantastic defense there from the number 3. It means that Cameron Dance is going to have to change his approach here. Stevens losing a little bit of time in the mid-corner, bumper to bumper between himself and Dance on the exit. Oh, almost another bit of contact when they get to the braking zone for turns 3 and 4. Oh no, there's a spin back.
Mazzomo gets turned. Caution flies. And it was Northway that got him.
Oh man. Robert Northway's night has been very patchy so far. It looks like Mazzomo just lost a slight bit of momentum in the middle of the corner when Northway was getting alongside him. There might have been a slight bit of preliminary contact. Let's take a look here on the VRS replay. There is the tap, and around he goes, and was collected by Josh Nowak in the process.
Yeah, so Mazzomo, at the same time as he's taken a lift off the throttle, it seems, right in the middle of the corner. At the same time, he's just come down the racetrack a little bit, and at that point, as he's lifted off, it's created an overlap, and so contact was made. Really unfortunate. I would actually struggle to put the blame properly on Northway for that. I think Mazzomo caused a little bit of that grief himself. It's so tight. I mean, they were running so tight together. You can't blame anyone. It's a racing incident, but caused by a movement from Mizomo. Should note, Nowak got a piece of that, by the way. When Mizomo was spinning, Nowak cleaned him up.
Indeed he did. So might be dealing with some damage. The sole car on the pit lane at the moment is Shane Bowen. He's taken right side tyres. And out he goes again. Manages to stay on the lead lap. Harold Stadler has made up a lap on the leaders. He's now only 1 lap down. And considering that, he is the only car a lap down, with Gavin Barber still down in the pit lane.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There just might be. But everyone else staying out on this occasion. Oh, no, I tell a lie. Down on pit road comes Josh Nowak, and I would suspect that would be to repair some damage, possibly get his spare car. At the very least, get some fresh rubber on that thing if he has the tyres to spare. Now, there we go. Stop and go for Josh Nowak. Not a penalty. He was just stopping to get his spare car.
And then going.
Indeed.
30 to go. It'll be 29, 28 on the restart. Getting down to it. Stevens, Dance look so evenly matched. It really depends who's out front. I don't think either one of them have a distinct advantage. Whoever's behind is going to look faster, I think, because of the slipstream down the straights. Thomas Hinds in third, I don't think quite has enough to fight either of them outright, but when they're fighting each other, he can definitely throw it in there with them. Robert Northway has got a fast car, he's got fresher rubber, and he'll be restarting sixth. If he can get through Andrews and Mole quickly and latch onto those top 3, he could certainly play a part like he did at the end of race 1. He was millimeters away in race 1 from getting to that bumper of Dance in the middle of 3 and 4 on the final lap, or the extra space he needs to find in race 2 to get there. I think they're the 4 to watch in the closing laps.
Indeed they are. And if Dance can, at the very least, maintain this position, he doesn't have to get by Stevens in order to take the round win, having gotten first in race 1. But we got a restart on our hands once again. There's going to be 28 laps to go when they cross the line. In comes the pace car, and Daniel Stevens leaves it until the exit of turn 4 to go. That's a good start from him. Shifts ahead of Cameron Dance, slots by to cover off any advances into the first turn, but their battle is going to resume, and it is going to be fiery. Thomas Hinds not quite able to get the start he wanted. He's got Andrews and Mole side by side behind him. And Robert Northway all the way to the inside. Down to the apron goes Robert Northway. Is he going for the pits again?
Yes, he is. So
Well,
Northway coming to pit lane. That puts an end to his run. Dance was on the bumper of Stevens exiting turn 2, but he couldn't do anything with it in 3 and 4. Top 3 haven't broken away on the first lap. Andrews and Mole are right there with them. And Andrews has a little look at Hinds.
Oh, man, Andrews dialing up the aggression here. He knows that he could be on for a podium position. But the top 3 stay level. Coming around to start lap 100 of 125. And Cameron Dance just getting on the throttle a little bit earlier, pushes Stevens' bumper coming out of turn 2. There's a potential move there from Matt Andrews. He has a look up the inside of Thomas Hinds, but Hinsey staying in the middle of the circuit, going to get the advantage. Dance, I think suffering a bit of understeer. He's lost momentum. Thomas Hinds is going to get alongside him on the outside, coming into turn 1. Not able to take advantage, though, at least for the time being. But that has gifted a slight advantage to Daniel Stevens. Dance, I think, just a bit too aggressive on the throttle, induced a little understeer in that car of his. It had to wind on the lock, get off the throttle to get out of the wall.
The stack up offers up an opportunity for Matt Andrews underneath Hins.
Oh no, we got another crash at the back. John Sorensen was put in the wall and lost momentum. Josh Nowak and Simon Mizomo both going into him as a result. Caution out again.
Nowak will definitely be down. His engine's popped from that one.
And Mizomo's at a standstill. I think he's done too.
Here's the replay.
So you'll see John Sorensen get tapped up into the wall here by Shane Bowen, and yeah, well, Nowak made contact with him and got sent straight into Simon Mizomo.
Yeah. Bowen just unceremoniously escorting Sorensen straight up into the fence, and Mizomo saw it and reacted to it. Nowak just didn't, which is disappointing because Mizomo reacted, moved down, and lifted off. And he'd already done that by the time Nowak had hit Sorensen. Which, will disappoint Mizomo because, he'd reacted to it and he didn't even need to. Whereas Nowak, who did need to react, didn't. And as a result, Nowak hits him and takes out Mizomo.
Indeed. Well, Nowak has made it back to the pits, bringing it into his pit box with a smoking engine. And with no spare car for him, he has exited his machine, and I think that's going to be a retirement for the number 73. It's a shame for both Simon Mizomo and Josh Nowak, but I think Nowak will be hurting quite a bit because, he was in contention there for the lead, and lucky dog for Harold Stadler, he is back on the lead lap with only 22 laps to go. How far can he go up the field?
As long as he doesn't win the race, I'll be happy because then I won't have to take back what I said. A good fight back from him already to get those ups back. Being aided by the cautions. The cautions, however, disrupting a good fight between Dance and Stevens.
And it has been a good fight between the two of them, hasn't it?
It really, really has. Northway will be very happy to have seen that caution. It was a penalty for him because he did a stop and go like we saw from Dance earlier on as Sorensen comes into pit lane now. So Northway will get himself back to the lead group and he'll restart from 11th.
Yeah, Sorensen already classified a lap down thanks to that incident. He's brought it back into pit lane and...
Is it?
Yeah, Sorensen's back in... classified a lap down. Oh, no, my apologies. I was accidentally looking at the the results from race 1. He is still on the lead lap and he's taking all 4 tyres, looking for one final run on fresh rubber to try and get some kind of result from this. So to be clear, Sorensen is still on the lead lap. He is positioned behind Harold Stadler. So we'll be going green this time by, everyone forming back up. But with Northway and Stadler, they're just outside the top 10. They'll be trying everything they can to move up the order, potentially make life difficult for the top 3. But the battle between Stevens and Dance, which has been going on for the majority of this race now. Dance looking to make it a clean sweep of the race results here tonight. Stevens looking to get a good haul of championship points on the board after his poor result in race 1. Each driver has something to play for. Thomas Hins and Matt Andrews will be wanting to make life difficult for these guys. Maybe steal a win of their own. In comes the pace car, and Stevens goes nice and early out of turn 4. And that wasn't the Best of starts there from Cameron Dance. He's almost allowed himself to come under attack from Thomas Hinz coming into turn 1, but they run single file. Mole managing to just ease ahead of Dwayne Burns.
Really good from Stevens. Every previous time he'd been in control, he'd left it really late. This time, on what could be the money shot, he left it, he went as early as he could to get the best jump he can, and it worked out well for him. 18 to go as we cross the stripe, and he's got a little car length margin in hand over Dance, who's got Hinz all over him. They're side by side back there for 5th, Burns and Mole. Mole with a slide loses out, and Burns is into 5th. But look, Dance now looking to the inside of Stevens. He got the run down the back straight, and it's back on again for the race lead with Dance on the inside and Stevens on the outside. Will it have the same result though? Can Dance do something different to somehow take the race lead away?
Well, it's the same as it was before here. Stevens trying to work the outside contact. Stevens almost sent into the wall. That's allowed Matt Andrews to get up into 2nd. So position loss there for Daniel Stevens, 2. And it could be 3 with Thomas Hinz trying to work the inside now.
Yeah, a little cheeky from Dance.
He's redressing.
Yeah, I was going to say that was really cheeky from Dance. He hip checked Stevens out of the way. And Stevens wouldn't have been happy, but Dance has redressed it. But in doing so, they both give up the race lead to Matt Andrews. Where has he come from?
Andrews started all the way back in 14th, remember, for this second race. He certainly wouldn't have anticipated this. The 2 leaders coming together, and there's been another spin at the back. The caution is out again. The cars involved, John Sorensen and Jonathan Bain.
Gee, Sorensen's having a rough race.
Yeah, it looks like Sorensen pushed up the racetrack a bit into Bain and spun him around.
No. No.
Yes.
No?
Well, Bain at least was taking a bit of a tighter line out of turn 4.
Yes. There you go. Yeah, I think that's a bit of this and a bit of that from both of them.
Yeah.
If you look at the onboard from Shane Bowen, actually, it's a really good perspective because you can see Bain in front going lower than Bowen is, and Bowen's still washing out, and that's why the contact was made.
Yeah, well, there we go. That's the onboard from Mr. Bowen.
When you've got a car on your inside and you're on the outside, you can't take a tighter exit. You've got to keep it as wide as you can.
Yeah. I apologize for my initial assessment. It's been a long day. So either way, this means that Matt Andrews is going to... Oh no, Jonathan Bain's engine blew on the way back into the pits. I just noticed. So he's brought that back in, along with John Sorensen, whose engine was already smoking. What I was going to say was, this has given the biggest of advantages to Matt Andrews. He can now control the restart. Potentially get himself a gap, as Daniel Stevens has managed to still put himself in contention for the win. He is in 2nd now, with Cameron Dance with that redress falling back behind Thomas Hinz. Jonathan Bain just coming to a very coasting stop in the lane. I don't know if he's even going to make it to his box. And it looks like he is indeed done. So we got a proper dash here, Ryan, with Matt Andrews in the lead for the first time tonight. And Daniel Stevens looking to redeem himself from that incident that happened with Cameron Dance, that contact between them.
Yeah, they're going to make him have a really short run to the end, aren't they? 12 to go. Going to be about a 10-lap dash. You know, I think Stevens is a really good shot of fending him off for a 10-lap dash, especially with, you know, Dance back there in fourth now. And don't forget Matt Andrews. Sorry.
Yes, of course.
I mean, we haven't talked about him all day, really.
Yeah, there's a chance that even if it isn't Dance taking both wins, it could be a double win for Fitzstein Motorsport. Of course, Matt Andrews for the Renvale Fitzstein Motorsport sub-team there. But Daniel Stevens now flying the flag solo for MFR with Gavin Barber and Jonathan Bean unfortunately exiting this race. Can the number 3 bring the glory to the MFR stable, using his oval experience to get this win? Oh, whoa, contact on the formation lap isn't going to do that. Matt Andrews just going a little bit to the right. Daniel Stevens going a little bit to the left. Hopefully we don't see that under race conditions when we get back racing in just a few seconds' time. But how early is Andrews going to go? That is the big question. Is he going to try and take them by surprise when the pace car pulls into the pits? Andrews is leaving it. He's leaving it. Just before the iRacing green flag, he goes, and that's a good jump. Stevens didn't quite respond and gets a slight bit of a tap from behind from Cameron Dance. But Andrews moving then into the race lead. Dance trying to get the exit versus Thomas Hinz. Hinsey taking the title line, losing the momentum. He's shifted back into fourth. Dance going to the inside to try and take this second place from Daniel Stevens. Well, the fighting resumes, but it's for a position lower than it was before.
Yeah. No messing around. They've got to not only pass Stevens, but he's got to pass Andrews as well. Stevens has got to keep his eyes forward and not worry about Dance behind. Andrews is pulling on them.
Absolutely.
0.3 of a second.
Fantastic start from Matt Andrews. And Daniel Stevens still holding off the advances of the reigning champion. But Dance, oh, just a little bit too hard on the exit. Had to briefly avoid getting into the wall. You see Northway back there trying to jostle for position 2.
No, Andrews grabbed the fence on the entry to 1. It cost him all of his margin. And now Stevens almost gets the overlap. Didn't quite get there, and Andrews is able to cover, but now Stevens is on the outside where he seems so strong. That was a pressure mistake from Andrews.
It certainly was. He's managed to keep it from Stevens, though, but the battle is way closer now. And Andrews has to be looking over his shoulder constantly as Cameron Dance goes up the inside. Andrews losing a tiny bit of momentum in the mid-corner. Stevens still manages to cover off Cameron Dance here. Andrews goes defensive, forces Stevens to take outside into turns 3 and 4. No.
They come together, awkwardly run up the racetrack, and that gives Stevens breathing room now. That is not what Andrews wanted to see. He wanted Dance to keep putting the pressure on Stevens. But now, there's a few car lengths between Stevens and anyone else. It's Dwayne Burns in third. Stevens just got the gift of his life. He's able to set himself up for a great run. That's exactly what he's done down the back straight.
Matt Andrews taking those tighter lines. Oh, he has to back out of it in the middle of the corner.
Dance is fighting back.
Trying to go up the inside of Dwayne Burns into the first turn here. All the way down to the bottom lane. They just avoid getting into each other in the mid-corner. But this is slowing them up, and Stevens again in the draft of Andrews. It's going to be 4 laps to go when they cross the line.
Dance needs to clear Burns this lap. He needs to send it in here, and he does just that. But he can't clear him. Needs to power out perfectly here. Dance quickly losing out on an opportunity to win this one. Stevens still a little too far back on Andrews. Up at the front. He's trying to turn back in the center of the corner and get the run out. As Dance edges Burns as high as he can on the exits for third. Can't quite get there. Andrews covering as hard as he can for the lead race. There's 3 to go.
Oh, and Stevens almost getting into his rear bumper there. They almost banged wheels. On board with Daniel Stevens. The car width is left by Matt Andrews, and Stevens goes very aggressive on the turn, but there's contact. He's been forced up the racetrack.
Turned in too early.
Yeah, just a little bit too early turn in there for Daniel Stevens. Starting lap 124, 2 laps to go. Stevens weaving in Matt Andrews' mirrors.
Dance is right there. If he gets underneath Stevens, Andrews will be his best friend in the world. But Dance will know that. A lap and a half left.
Matt Andrews. Oh, caution. We're going to finish under caution. Andrews has won it. And oh my goodness.
No.
Oh no, Harold Stadler and it seems Shane Bowen involved in that. Yeah, it looks like Harold Stadler, he was on the outside of Alexander Sheridan coming into turn 3 and just backed out of it, went for the turn in, but Bowen, going for the early turn in, went straight into his rear quarter.
Yeah. For that caution to come out and for that to be the reason for the caution is really disappointing.
Well, the race is pretty much over here. Matt Andrews with one of the best runs I've seen in the Major Series so far is going to take the win here in race 2 of the Musket 250. Daniel Stevens is going to cross the line in second. Still a fantastic result for him after race 1. But Cameron Dance, with a win in the first race, third in race 2, I think is the round winner here tonight.
What a drive from Andrews. He started 11th in race 1. He finished a lap down in 14th. So he started race 2 from 14th. Worked his way through the field. Haven't talked about him basically all night until right at the end. He restarted up the order. Took advantage of contact with the leaders. And held off insurmountable pressure from Daniel Stevens, Cameron Dance. Some of the best on the oval in the series. And one of the best the series and international has ever seen. To win at New Hampshire. What a drive and what a race win.
Absolutely agree with that. Here are the unofficial results then. Andrew Stevens and Dance, your top 3. Dwayne Burns still makes it 4th. Great drive from him. Put him in contention for the win a couple of times in the late stages. Dean Moll rounds out the top 5. Thomas Hins taking P6. It could have been a podium for Hins were it not for that contact with Dance just a few laps from the end. Northway in 7th, Eric and Tilly 8th, Alexander Sheridan and John Sorensen rounding out the top 10.
Stadler runs up 11th after getting turned. Mizomo 12th, Bowen 13th, and then Bang, Nowak, Barber, Blake, Neck rounding out your field. Really good night racing. 250 laps all up, 2 125 lap races. And they really put up the show for us, didn't they, Reese? 2 different race winners. Cameron Dance's stranglehold gets broken by, you'd have to say, no disrespect, the most unlikeliest of names.
Yeah, if you'd come up to me before this race and said, hey, Matt Andrews is going to take a win tonight, I would have given you a funny look. Certainly wouldn't have expected that, but fair play to Matt Andrews. He took advantage of the situation given to him, worked his way up through the field in race 2. I think with some pit stop shenanigans along the way, and I mean that defense from Daniel Stevens at the very end was certainly something to behold. You know, he showed that he has what it takes to run with the best here.
and can't wait to hear what he has to say after his incredible second race. In fact, we've got him in here, Reese. Matt Andrews, congratulations. A stunning race win at race 2 for Fitzstein Motorsport. You got to be absolutely over the moon with that, eh?
First win in the majors, boys, and yeah, I'm pretty pumped. Coming from a lap down, I was really just hoping to get maximum points, and it just sort of fell into my lap. But yeah, I'm pretty pumped, boys. Cheers.
Reese?
Yeah, Matt, that race too, it was a bit confusing for us up here in the commentary box with the pit stops on that first caution. How did you play it?
I can't even remember really. I'm a bit shocked, but no, I think I got a penalty right at the very start of the race and had to serve it. Went a lap down. Came in on the first caution and just put as much fuel in as possible without losing a lap. Got the lucky dog at the second one, and again just put as much fuel in as I could, which got me home. And I just sort of slowly eked my way forward, and I think sitting in fourth, there was a bit of a scuffle in front of me, and teammate Cam felt as though he had to redress, which basically gave me the lead. And then from there, I just had to hold that inside line for as much as I could. Had really good battles with Stevens and Hins. They're great races, and yeah, pulled it off. So yeah, a bit lucky I think, but I'll take it.
Certainly you will, and that's 25 points on the board for you thanks to that win. I mean, does this set the rest of your season in a new light, knowing that that you have what it takes here to compete up the front?
I think at the start of the season my aim was to get in the top 10 of the points. I think that's still my aim this season. Then next season hopefully start mixing it with the real top guys. But yeah, I mean, my first win in the majors, let alone an oval, which usually isn't my forte, let alone I did break a couple of rules tonight because I'm still learning the rules. But yeah, stoked to get a win, and yeah, we'll see what happens for the rest of the championship. You never know.
Indeed. Well, before we let you go, Matt, is there anyone you'd like to thank? Any shout-outs or any sponsors?
Yeah, just the boys at TechSense Fitzstein. They're a great bunch of guys. Been with them now for about a year and learn a lot. And yeah, they're a great bunch of guys, and their sponsors, TechSense, Renvale, Fight Colorectal Cancer. Get on board with that. Demon Tweaks, etc. They're great to be on board with us, and yeah, looking forward. Hopefully, I'll chat to you guys a bit more often throughout the season.
We certainly hope the same. Thank you very much for joining us. Matt Andrews, winner of race 2 here at the Musket 250. Ryan, you're with second place, Daniel Stevens.
Yeah, Dan, you walk away in second place in race number 2, and in race 1 it was a disappointing 16th after a pit road incident. I think overall you've got to be happy with that fight back, but maybe disappointed you didn't get to finish under green. Who knows what could have happened?
Yeah, first race, I was pretty gutted at what happened there. Like 9 minutes of repairs, and then I had another 3 minutes of optional. But hey, that happens. Sometimes the car goes, and sometimes it doesn't, and it's just, well, I just went with it. Luckily, we had a second race. But yeah, I was pretty peeved, to be honest, that that went to caution on that last lap. I think I had him. I'm pretty much I had him.
Yeah, you were all over him, and it was interesting because you were under a lot of pressure from Cameron Dance as well. Obviously, you're all wanting to stop Cameron, and thankfully someone... Sorry, what did I say? And someone did today. You were able to fend him off while he had the inside, which looked to be the preferred line. I chalked it up to your oval experience, being able to hold the outside line, pinch them down in the corners, and, nail the exits. How were you able to do that,
Well, I actually set the car up to run the second groove up. If I went down the low groove, the arse end would keep on swinging out. If I went too high, the arse would swing out. So I set the car up so it ran the middle the whole time, because that was once you got that line, it's pretty hard to get around, and that's just had the drive out of there. And yeah, just hours and hours and hours of getting the setup right in many laps, and just nailed it today.
Got it right, that's for sure. What about the contact with Dance with a few laps to go? He got by you, and then redressed it. He pushed you up the road. It was so close together. And then, you know, he got that little touch right on the exit of turn 2. What was your view on that? Obviously, he redressed it. Did you think that was needed?
It was touch and go. Like, hats off to Cam for doing that. It's a true champion for doing that. He didn't have to do it. Like, and I would have done it like a penalty later on. But I think Cam redressing then, he had a better chance of getting the back off me again. So, you know, top notch to him for doing that.
Reese?
Oh well, I think we've covered it off pretty well here. But Daniel, with that result, still showing that you can run up the top in the Majors series. And I mean, you were 10th in the drivers' standings coming into this race. Obviously, race 1 didn't quite pan out for you, but it's still a good haul, and you're still in contention there in the top 10.
Yeah, mate, it's a long season. My past couple of races haven't really gone my way. I've had a bit of bad luck in the majors in the last couple of races. But you know, obviously after tonight, I reckon things are going to turn around. There's some good tracks and combos coming up later on that I'll be pretty strong at. So I'll just go forward from here.
Well, before we let you go, Dan, anyone that you'd like to thank?
Yeah, mate. The usual, Liquid Molly, Snap-on Tools Blacktown, WP Concreting, Virtual Car Art, and Aussie Signs and Designs, and also the you guys for the broadcast and MF Racing.
Daniel Stevens there, second place in race 2 here tonight. Final driver interview, third place, Cameron Dance. Cam, it was all up, a pretty good night for you. Pole and the win in race 1, third in race 2. You should come away with the round win from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a little bit gutted I didn't quite get the race win, but no, Matt did a fantastic job. He timed everything and put himself in the position that he needs to be in the end. So yeah, he did really, really well, and props to him on ending up winning that race. So he finally got one on the board, which is really, really good for the team to come away with 2 race wins in the round. But yeah, to be honest, generally all round good all round to be honest. So yeah, I can't complain at all. When some absolutely awesome racing as well.
Yeah, we certainly thought so. What was your view on that? There were 2 incidents for you in race 2. The first with Daniel Stevens, the second with Thomas Hins. Daniel's already on record saying that, you know, he appreciates the redress, but you know, what was your view of that incident?
Yeah, I mean, I just drove in a little bit deep, and then as I was coming out of the corner, I got the 0x, and then saw in my mirror that he ended up running a little bit wide as a result. So I wasn't sure whether he'd come down on me or I came into him, so I just did the fairest thing possible. So, and at the end of the day, it didn't cost us much in the end. So it's just one of those things, clean hard racing at the end of the day, and that sort of thing is going to happen, especially on this sort of stuff. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's no major loss to come home third and have that sort of thing happen. But yeah, that's what it is.
Ryan?
No, I think you covered it all. I was going to say, how does it feel to lose?
Wow.
Goodness me. Yeah,
I mean, probably about time, to be fair. And it was going to happen at some point.
Yeah, well, at the very least, you still hold on to the championship lead, so your season is still going nice and steady.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the next few rounds, it's looking like we're still going to get some strong results as well. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what the next few rounds hold. Obviously, Neverring's up next, so looking forward to throwing the little pork boy around there to get a bit of action going. But yeah, looking forward to the rest of the season. So far, it's been a really, really good season for not only myself, but the entire team. So yeah, can't wait to see what the rest of the season holds.
Shout outs and sponsors. Who gets it done for you, Cam?
First of all, shout out to the boys at TechSense Fitstone Motorsport that ran an awesome round this weekend. Unfortunate for Mez and Harold to have the moment say they did. But yeah, shout out to them and all our partners, TechSense, Sensors, Rinval Harnesses, Demon Tweaks, Fight CRC, Majors Garage, you guys for the awesome broadcast, Mike and the team for the awesome series, and all the boys out there for the awesome racing too.
Cameron Dance, the round winner here at the Musket 250. Well, Ryan, that brings to an end proceedings for tonight, but in 4 weeks' time, on the 1st of May, we get to the next round. We're back to road racing for the Nürburgring 2.4.
I think that's 3 weeks' time.
Yeah,
first
three
of May.
or 4.
3 or 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, at some point in the future. Yeah, Nürburgring should be a good race. Going to be lots to learn for those who've never been there before, and a good refresher needed for those who have been before, because it is, of course, the monster, the Green Hell, the longest track in the world, and 2.4 hours there is killer on you mentally and physically. Luckily, they don't have to do all 24, but I think 2.4 solo is still going to be a really tough gig for these guys. And yeah, going to be keen to see who comes out on top there.
So am I, and we hope you out there are too. Thank you very much for joining us in the broadcast tonight. You'll be able to catch that next round of the Majors Series on the 1st of May right here on SimSpeed TV. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to the Majors Series for putting this whole thing on in the first place. This is a fantastic night of racing in the Tour Modifieds at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I'm Reese Gardner. It was Ryan Jones alongside me in the commentary box. And as always, Jay Kennedy making everything happen behind the scenes, directing, controlling the cameras, etc., etc. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time here on SimSpeed TV.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness! Half the field's gonna get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?